Okay, we'll do that live.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is the Banned Books Podcast, a part of the 1517 Podcast Network. Everything that you need for your Christian faith and life as far as literature and videos and audio is available at the 1517.org website.
And courses.
And courses and books coming out all the time. Go check all that out. Scott Keith has got a new book out. I believe.
On being, not being dad, but being family.
Yeah. Definitely go check that out. Plus, he wrote a great article this week on Christian pacifism and why
I saw that.
It's not correct doctrine.
Well, it's if you read through the Large Catechism in particular, you'll always catch this. It's like, well, you're not supposed to talk about your neighbor, 8th commandment, except for if God gives you to.
Right.
You're not allowed to hurt or harm your neighbor, except for if it's your vocation, right?
Right.
And you're like, well, that's not Luther. You can't do that. Well, yeah, the father, of course, is going to defend his wife and children.
It's called the two kingdoms.
Right. And if that means the use of extraordinary force that results in the death of the attacker.
Well, since this is currently actually in my wheelhouse, by the 1500s, the church had a problem actually with the Christian warrior class.
Mm-hmm.
Because the chivalric way, of course, corresponds to, or maybe is even a response to, the advance of the Moors into Europe and then the pushback, which eventually becomes the Crusades.
So these are not mercenaries.
No. They're knights. They serve God and king, God and country.
Are they celibate?
They're supposed to be.
Okay.
Well, they're supposed to be married, basically.
Or married. They're committed. Okay.
Yeah. Not loose, not libertines, right? And so all through the Middle Ages, then you have a Christian warrior class, you have the chivalric way, you have rules of conduct. And they're held to, again, you're serving something higher than yourself in your vocation as a Christian knight, as a warrior. And so the emphasis there, past the ethic, is that a true warrior understands the value of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, and again, because part of chivalry is mercy, you show mercy to those you vanquished. You don't just kill people wantonly because you defeat them. There is that sense of murder is a sin, but when you're defending your neighbor, defending your home, it's still sinful, but you're protecting them according to the law, according to the commands, and it's noble and godly in that sense. So,
right. And this is Luther and soldiers too. Can soldiers too be saved?
And so this is why it may seem odd to the world that after a battle, the priest will come out and set up an altar, and then the sacrament will be administered to them for the forgiveness of their sin. And by the 1500s, though, the church has this problem, which is we don't really have a place for knights anymore. We don't really need Christian warriors necessarily. Plus, we're hiring a lot of mercenaries out of like Switzerland.
Yeah, that's why I asked about the mercenary.
And
they don't have the same vested interest as a married knight who is going to distant lands, perhaps, but fighting for.
Well, if you read something like Ivanhoe or again Parsifal or other medieval stories, when the knights are in the Holy Land, the expectation is not take up the cause of a Christian woman; it's to take up the cause of any woman in need.
Okay.
So even if the woman is a Muslim, if she is quote unquote the enemy, the knight is bound by the noblesse oblige, the obligations of nobility, to protect her. And you see this in Ivanhoe in particular, because there's this play between a Jewess and a Christian in Ivanhoe and the kind of dynamics of society at that time. And so I think when you read Luther on whether a Christian can be a soldier, that's an odd essay, actually, if you don't understand that he's really at the end of a very long tradition of Christian warriorhood. And the question then becomes, like, how do we behave? How do we understand Christian warriors, Christian soldiers? Whereas in the Middle Ages, that's not a conversation because it's just everyday life. It's just it's the weave and weft of culture. And of course, then by the 16 and 1700s, there's a tilt away from that towards something altogether different, with the rise of nation states and whatnot. But I think because of the tradition, what Luther's writing too is to say, hey, we used to know this stuff. So let me remind you. And so he's not saying anything new or innovative. He's simply reiterating something that was there. He grew up with it, or at least the consequences of it. But yeah, what do you do as a church, for example, when you need defending, but then at some point you don't need the same defenses, but you've got this whole class of people?
Right.
Well, you just kind of quietly let it go away. And being a knight then becomes more of an honorary title. Same thing happens in feudal Japan with the samurai.
How did we get to this? I'm trying to remember what my question was. I lost it. Well, anyway, we were talking about this before.
Oh, Being Family by Scott.
Oh, yeah, Scott's book. There we go.
Yeah.
And he's gone around and he's done some speaking.
And Christian Pacifism, the article.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the pacifism article. And much more content available for you there. So there's
anyways, that's Christopher Gillespie, one half.
Chilling and willing, maxing, relaxing this morning, as always.
And I'm Donovan Riley. It is currently 39 below zero where I live at because, I don't know, my ancestors decided rather than turn left at St. Louis and, go south, we'll turn right and just go right back to the climate we left.
I think most people basically, here east are questioning their life choices today.
Oh, yeah. No, the middle of this country is getting slammed today, and the East Coast this winter in general.
And you're like, it's cold here too. It's 15 below, so it's cold.
Yeah, the amount of snow and rain that the Midwest and the East Coast has gotten this year has been...
Yeah.
Not
it's climate, right?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
What Farmer's Almanac, what did it predict this? It did.
It did.
It did. It's last year, and it nailed it.
Yep.
Oh, well.
But who reads that when we have apps? So today on the show, I'm driving the car again. And so we'll turn back toward what
Myth,
Donovan's always
legend.
on about. Myth, legend, yes, Christian stuff.
I was actually looking for something to inspire you on that topic, but it's good. We'll do it next week.
You shared this Chesterton quote, so we'll kick it off with the Chesterton quote and then move into C.S. Lewis from God in the Dock. So two fun things, two modern apologists today. So Chesterton writes, mysticism keeps men sane. So let's go to our old friend etymology, because etymology is our theology.
It does matter.
What is mysticism? What is mystical? Well, in the late 15th century, this was understood to be an enigmatic, obscure, or symbolic thing that had spiritual significance. This is from the 1520s.
Mm-hmm.
And so the word mystic as an adjective comes from the late 14th century. Mystique means a spiritual, allegorical, pertaining to the mysteries of faith. In Old French, that would be mystique, meaning mysterious or full of mystery. Mysticus in Latin, mysticus in Greek. All the same. So, which is great that you have a word that's basically got an unbroken definition for over 1,000 years, which is miraculous in most language.
Yeah, sure.
And so mysticism is just a synonym for mystery, right?
We've said that. And we said that last
truth.
week, I think, even.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, moderns don't know this, so you have to be redundant with these things because we're taught that mysticism is bad.
Whereas I've been arguing, pastors, we think that we're repeating ourselves, but in the ears of the hearer, generally no. They don't remember what you said last week. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just say it again.
So mysticism, mystery, that is the spiritual truth, higher heavenly truth, mysticism keeps men sane. As long as you have mystery, there it is, you have health. When you destroy mystery, you create morbidity. This is something that we were talking about in class last week, actually, is that winters in the Midwest, especially the long middle, which is what we're in right now, this can get you to focus unhealthily on morbidity because of the winter and the grayness and
everything around you is dead or dying.
Yeah. Right. And so it is a temptation to kind of drift into morbidity this time of year. And you have to be careful of that. And so
this is why Christmas is in the middle.
Well, this is why the light is born at the solstice.
Right.
And we talked about this last week in class because questions came up of it's winter. I've been contemplating memento mori. I've been thinking more about, death and life and things. And Dr. Shaw says you have to be careful this time of year of becoming too focused on these morbid topics because you're surrounded by it and you can get pulled into it.
Is there a name for it? Because it's like an affliction. Maybe even demonic, but it's an affliction for sure.
Well, it's sinful because we refuse to live our life according to the seasons.
Mm.
right? This is
And
the
let the
time
winter
of,
be the winter.
well, we're supposed to be creatures. And you let the winter be the winter by looking around and going, well, what are all the other creatures doing? Well, we should do that.
Like sleep more.
Sleep more, sit around the fire and tell stories, slow down,
Mm-hmm.
versus it's the new year. What's your resolution? Well, A, it's not the new year until the ground tells you it's the new year. That's usually around the spring equinox and Easter. And number two, you don't start new things when it's 39 below zero and the sky can kill you.
Yeah. And I know that the reason why the school year is what it is for us, at least
Mm-hmm.
here, is because the productive time is
Mm-hmm.
not when the children are in school. It's during the summer
Mm-hmm.
well, from planting to harvest, right?
Right.
That's when the children are most needed at home on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And so the school was the other time of the year where
Yeah.
things were quieter and slower
Right.
around the
But
farm.
it's
Now
that
that's all.
liturgical time.
No,
It's
but
not
it is a kind of
orderly.
reflection on creation, right? And orderliness.
No,
You don't think so?
no, it's an inversion. It's disorderly because it's not in communion with the
No, no.
movement
The
of
children are
the
working on the
seasons.
farm when the work needs to be done on the farm. They're in
Right,
harmony
but
with
there shouldn't
that.
be school in the winter then.
When are they going to go to school?
At home.
Yeah, I know.
That's the point.
Yeah, neither. That's a whole other conversation.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
But
Because
well, we've talked
life,
about it with
yeah,
like when do you rise, when do you go to sleep,
yeah.
time of day, circadian rhythm.
Mhm.
People know these things are true,
When my
and yet,
cats get up, everybody knows that.
well, that's unfortunately, yeah, you're right. Uh, but I mean, what is the
Hmm.
consequence of
Well,
living
we see it.
contrary to nature? Yeah.
To bring it to a nice tie up, you become focused on morbidity more often
Mm-hmm.
rather than relaxing and realize like, oh no, winter is the time when we sit around the fire and tell stories and enjoy the remnants of the harvest. This
You,
is
you eat more root vegetables
eat more root vegetables. You, a lot of soup, a lot
and
of soup and
soups.
stew. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's
Whatever
a
was in
time
a
to slow
can or a
down.
jar. Yeah.
And this is the key thing with kids. And I love that I've learned this in the last year. In Scandinavian culture, they used to be called the Cinderbiter. And the Cinderbiter are teenagers. And anybody who's had a teenager knows they like to sleep a lot. And they're supposed to actually. And in Scandinavian culture, the Cinderbiter is the child is basically moved closer to the fire because they're going to sleep most of the day like a cat. And so they're literally eating cinders, so to speak, right? Because they're so close to the fire, they're called cinder biters. But it's understood that this is a transitory time for the child
Mm-hmm.
from being a child to becoming a man or a woman. And so they're sleeping a lot because they're growing, but they're also sleeping a lot because they're going through the long middle of their life, the winter of their life, their teen years.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to be allowed to sleep and they need to be allowed to go through that transitory stage without trauma, literal trauma. And the way that you traumatize a child is again, you focus them too much on morbidity.
Lights, bells, waking up, sleeping,
Right.
not, yeah,
Don't do
following the
that.
schedule. Yeah, all
Let
of
them be
that.
cinder biters. And
Mm.
then they come out the other side, they come through that, and now they're ready to be an adult, right? They're ready to be mentored, technically.
Mm.
But if you don't let them go through that time of being a cinder biter and you're like, no, you have to get up and you have to do these things, and you're acting contrary to the nature of the person, the child. And it will then affect them negatively in the future, and they'll be forces of chaos rather than restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
And
and I mean,
usually,
that is the
yeah.
modern world, isn't it? It's like, because it's mechanical, it's derived from, art,
Yeah.
man over nature rather than man
Correct.
in nature. Yeah.
Under nature or
Uh-huh.
in.
Or in
Yeah.
or under. Yeah.
Because what did we do?
Lights
We aren't,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even
We
a
aren't,
candle isn't exactly contrary to nature. I mean, it's a fire,
hmm right.
right? Whereas the electrical light, and you can work all night.
Is
I mean, even
artificial
keeping
fire.
having a third shift,
Hmm.
I don't know. It bugs me.
Hmm.
I mean, I understand like
Uh,
nurses and doctors need to be on call. I
right.
got that. But they let them sleep.
Yeah. Well,
I-
here's a note from yesterday's class. We are not raised by fathers, but by the idea of the masculine.
The idea.
Of the masculine, but not by fathers.
So that may be epitomized by somebody who's not your father? Is that what you mean?
Well, what has to, actually, that's the next part of it, is that what happens then is that those things that are not masculine or not a father will come into the house and fill that space.
Mm-hmm. Like a demon.
Yeah, whatever that demon looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's is in the absence of a father, in the absence of the actual masculine, something will come and fill that space. Another father figure,
Right.
or someone that again is not your father though.
The problem I've
And
seen,
again, you get unstuck from
problem I've
reality.
seen is if someone who's not equipped to fill that role tries to take it on, like the mother can't be both mother and father.
No, of course not.
Well, you say of course not, but
Yeah,
single mothers try.
well, of course they do, because we live in a broken and fallen world.
You're like, well, how are you supposed to nurture and care for the child and also be the breadwinner and also be the the
Bread
violent
maker.
one, the discipline maker, and the bread maker? Yeah.
Yeah, you
How
can't
can you
be
feel?
the breadwinner and the bread maker. It's not. That's not how it's set up.
No, no, and that's just
Yeah.
that's Genesis 2 language. I mean, we're not speaking out of just some kind of
Yeah,
trad
Genesis 2 and
renewal
8,000
thing.
years of human history, but
Right,
whatever.
exactly. Exactly. Just so we're clear here.
Yeah, just so we're clear. We're not just making stuff up as we go.
Yeah.
But it's very counter-modern. And
I
so,
think so.
mysticism keeps men sane. And morbidity. So be careful this time of year, especially
Oh yeah,
in
that's
the
what we were
winter,
talking about. Thank
in the
you.
long middle of becoming overly concerned with things of life and death. And so the ordinary man has always been sane because the ordinary man has always been a mystic. The ordinary man then has always lived with mystery. He has permitted the twilight. He has always had one foot in earth and the other in fairyland. He has always left himself free to doubt his gods. But, unlike the agnostic of today, free also to believe in them. Not only to doubt his gods, but to believe in them. He has always cared more for truth than for consistency, facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this endlessly now. You have to understand there's a huge difference between the truth and facts. They're not the same thing.
Right.
If he saw two truths that seemed to contradict each other, he would take the two truths and contradiction along with them, rather than trying to synthesize them or deny one in order to affirm the other.
How can both things be true at the same time? You've heard that. How many times have we heard that?
Yeah. His spiritual sight is stereoscopic, like his physical sight. He sees two different pictures at once, and yet sees all the better for that, the eye of wonder and the eye of reason, the eye of heaven, the eye of the earth. And thus he has always believed that there was such a thing as fate, that is, you're going somewhere, you have a destiny, a destination, but such a thing as free will also, in matters pertaining to the earth.
Yeah, below.
So above and below, exactly. So mysticism keeps men sane. And as long as you have mystery, you have health. But when you destroy mystery, you create an overabundance, an overattention on morbidity.
We've talked about that. It's like the flattening of reality.
Right.
I think that's the language that maybe I got that from you.
Yeah,
Right?
you did.
Well, yeah, and I've just described it as boring. I mean that.
Yeah.
In a. Well, actually, now I'm
serve
thinking
no higher cause.
right, another way to say that is there's no mystery. There's nothing interesting.
There's no blessing.
There's that too.
Blessing is when you are blessed, you are full, in the sense of having eaten a full dinner. When you are affirmed, am I good enough? Did I deserve an A+? You'll never be full because you're being given candies.
Sweets. Yeah.
Sweets, sweet nothings, actually. And so, again,
We
in
could
looking
tie
for-
that into C.S. Lewis if you wanted.
Mhm.
Turkish delight.
That's right. And so
Have
in
some
our
candies.
in our search for blessing, we settled for affirmation, and then essentially rewrote the definition of blessing to mean an affirmation, which is, am I a good boy? Versus, can I be filled? Can I be full? Do you have any bread? And again, you go from the external life of the ancient world to the internal life of the modern world, and you end up eating yourself alive.
Yeah.
And therefore, as we were talking about backstage, morbidity and suffering and death become the platform, and they become an end unto themselves because there is no hope, because there is no resurrection, because there is nothing beyond death.
I mean, there is a paradox there because on the one hand, we're saying we're trying to avoid them or flee from them. But on the other side, as we said, at least culturally,
That's the same as offering human sacrifices to avoid the wrath of the gods.
we're
We
embracing
love
them.
and worship them, but we better do this so that they love and worship us too in return.
Right, exactly.
Because if we don't, they're going to punish us. So it's like, so you love something that also will punish you if you fail to make a good sacrifice.
Well, and to that point, 1 in 4 women have had an abortion in the U.S.
Yes.
94.5 or 94.8%, that therefore of deaths in the U.S. in the last 60 years
Mm-hmm.
have been committed by
Mm-hmm.
women having
But
abortion.
but that's the way it should be, according to the logic.
That's the ethos. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's child
that is.
sacrifice and life for
It's
life.
the same. It's like somebody I would follow on Substack. It's the school shooter, the abortionist. They all serve the person who administers life-ending drugs to an elderly person and euthanizes them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same ethic. It's the ethic of nihilism, and death is the end. So why be a coward and run
I
away
mean,
from the
death
inevitable?
is the highest expression of nihilism. Is that?
Yeah, it's also the highest. It's the final expression of see me. Like I have to do something to be seen, and I've tried everything and nothing works. But I know that if I die, if I kill myself, if I commit an act that's so abrupt and so it ruptures society, I'll be noticed.
No, that's the Nashville shooter, right?
Hmm.
I mean, what is it? More than a year later, you're still talking about what's in the diary, and you're like,
Yeah, look at me.
seriously?
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Again, it's look at me.
He or she, I can't remember now, got
Yeah,
what they wanted
yeah.
by platforming it, right? By
Hmm.
presenting it,
Because
and rather than just grieving it.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as I wrote in a poem, we can explain what a hammer is, but we can't tell you why you swing it. Right? It's like we can explain things and we can put conditions on things and we can categorize things, and yet it seems that because of that we're worse off as human beings
Yeah.
because we've said the opposite of what Chesterton is saying. And of course, I think this
Rather
is
than let the
apologetic.
mystery hold.
There is no mystery.
Yeah. We have
There's
to try
none.
to. So the endless pursuit of motive
Drives you insane
is part of that.
and breaks your health, as he says. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have mystery, you don't have health. And if you don't have mystery, you're not sane.
Well,
And
and
insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
I think anybody honest will say, I don't even understand myself or my actions.
Right.
But that requires, well, a humble honesty, right? A humility.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said previously, in order to get there, you have to be led there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't find by an act of will what is only given by grace.
Hmm.
But we're constantly charging forward saying, and this is Jesus saying the violent, storm heaven, is we're constantly, especially for us as Lutherans who have built our confession on the bondage of the will
Yeah.
and election, we will still, because we're old Adams in our flesh, we will still charge forward while confessing that we are in bondage to sin and cannot free ourselves.
And that we completely hold to Romans 1-3. Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
While running into a wall saying, I think next time I'm going to break through. I think this is the time,
This is the breakthrough. Yeah.
But that is the humbling. As I said yesterday to someone, my burden is easy and my yoke is light is a wonderful statement of grace and mercy until 30 seconds in the ER. And you're begging God to take this burden from you. You're
I think
saying,
I
please
quoted you
free
in a
me.
sermon saying that. I think
Yeah.
it sounds like I feel like I must have used that recently too.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's great until it's
Right.
actually like once the cross actually is on you and you're like, honest to God, kill me or get this off of me, but don't let me sit here and suffer anymore. I can't take this.
That is the place of lament. That's where it
Yeah,
happens.
for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have places and we don't have rights. One of the things, like Robert Bly, for example, he was a Minnesota poet, wrote Iron John. Most people know him for that. But that's the thing that Robert Bly talks about is we don't have, for example, rights of manhood anymore. So we don't sit around the fire in the wintertime and tell stories. And good stories that inspire and influence and actually affect change in the hearer. We don't have that anymore. So we have to create those places. So the ER is the house of lament. We don't have a place where you can go and keen, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, we don't have rights. So we don't have like in our service book, we have a rite of lamentation. We actually
Sure.
have a rite
Yeah.
for that.
Even for personal or national or
Right.
Yeah.
But we have rights, and we got them from the ancient church, of course, because
Of course.
we don't know how to write them
We wouldn't
anymore.
know. Chat, write me a right for Lamentations.
That's right, exactly.
No, we don't lament anymore. So sorry.
And so, yeah, when I study the ancient Syriac churches, and they have these different rites for different events and different seasons and so on, it makes so much sense. Obviously, when you read it, you're like, oh, of course, there should be a rite for when a baby's born, and there should be a rite when a baby dies, and there should be a rite when you're lamenting, and a rite when you're celebrating, and we should have rites for these things outside the regular divine service. We don't have that.
I asked Grok, but Grok already knows I'm a Lutheran, so it's it's like, here, do Psalm 130. Ugh, yes, of course.
Of course.
Read Lamentations.
I know you. Yep.
Sing out of the depths I cry to you. Oh, come on.
Yep.
I guess chat can do it for us.
And so, lacking those things, and I do believe, if you, especially from the Enlightenment forward, and you had to suffer through seminary being required to read these things like I was, you discover that it's not an accident of history. It's not an insubstantiated event or phenomena. The Enlightenment purposely looked at the ancient world and went, we got to get rid of all this. This is superstitious nonsense. It's all mystery. There's nothing concrete that we can hold on to here.
I mean, is it pride? We talked about this with the Enlightenment and what it did to the liturgy.
I think it's all of the deadly sins.
It's all
pride for sure. It's envy. It's
right, but
lust.
I mean, like we were saying, man over nature is a kind of ego trip, I guess.
Well, the children who came dug into the earth.
Yeah. We're going to conquer it. We're going to conquer God then, if we conquer the earth.
Right.
Okay.
We'll build a tower. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll go to the heavens. We'll find the angels out in past the Van Allen belt or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, when you read Chesterton and Lewis and Tolkien in particular, they're constantly advocating for a return to mystery, especially in the churches. And I think we don't even, again, I was talking with several people on the phone this week about this because they called for counsel and to talk deeper about this because they listen to the show. So shout out to everyone at the seminary who listens to the show and abroad. But when I talk about myth, they want to hear more, but they don't have a lexicon. They don't have a reference for any of these things. And yet, just go back to the 11 and 1200s, and that's all there is. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
did we read the Song of Songs on the show? The commentary by, I have Bede's Song of Songs. We could always
we didn't. We might have talked about doing it.
But I thought we read some other medieval commentator on the Song of Songs at some point.
That
if
sounds
not,
like something
we should,
we would have done.
They really leaned hard into it. It's great.
Yeah.
But because we're unanchored, as I keep saying of late, we're unanchored from the ancient church. We're unanchored even really from the Reformation. And except for like I say, the Elizabethan and then Cromwell and their Reformation, the Counter-Reformation, it's sometimes called. We're unmoored from our rooting.
Oh, we did. You're right. We read Bede.
Oh, we did read Bede on the Song of Songs.
Yeah,
okay.
Episode 329, if you want to go find it. Okay. This was November 24th, 2023.
Wow, I've been reading him that long? Huh.
Well, he's been around a while.
He has been around.
He's 7th century, so he's still waiting for you.
Yep, that's right. But we don't have it's like I was talking with our friend Tyler yesterday, a pastor in Michigan. I said, do this with your staff or with the teachers or with the ministry team or even with your Bible class. Print out a black and white illustration, a line drawing of a tree in the wintertime. So no leaves or anything, just the branches and whatnot. And then just draw lines at the roots, draw a line out from the trunk, and draw lines in the branches, and then put a date on it, like 1 to 300, 300 to 500, 500 to 800, 800 to 1200, all the way up to the present. And then at the center, you have a circle of Jesus. He's the center of the tree of life. He's the center of the tree. And then if you want roots, you could put like the apostles or whoever. But then just give that to your people and go ahead and write down your favorite like priest or theologian from each one of these time periods. Because this is your family tree.
Ouch.
Who can do that? Who can do that? Who? Nobody.
I know.
Nobody can do that.
15, 17, I know what to put there.
Right. Martin Luther. Right.
Martin Luther.
That's it.
Okay.
But how many of us can just do that? Like we know our family tree, but well, how many people actually know their biological family tree, let alone what Luke does at Christmas with our family tree goes back to Jesus at the beginning of creation.
Right. Yeah, I had this because I was preparing for Transfiguration, which we celebrate out of order.
Yep.
on the
This
wrong
Sunday.
Sunday. This Sunday.
Yay.
Right. And most of the church celebrates in August, August
Mhm.
15th. But I did not, you keep telling me to read Maximus, so I finally read it. And then I did not know that he was venerated both in East and West
Yes.
because of his Chalcedonian
Mhm.
contribution. But for him, the Transfiguration is the event
Yeah.
that's both justifying and sanctifying, which is kind of a strange idea.
Mhm.
And I don't know anybody else did this. But he
Mhm.
writes it just on and on and on about how we're transfigured in Christ transfigured. Anyway, it's like, oh, so now I've got an 8th century guy, right?
Yeah. There
I
you
can
go.
read
Yeah.
Maximus, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you say, well, is everything he says, I guess kosher or
Kosher?
something?
Not according to our friend Paulson. We talked about this when we got Steve.
No. And I disagree with this transfiguration. Oh, that's actually where I first heard it. It was from Paulson that
Yeah.
he quotes Maximus on this topic.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, now I'm finally reading it and trying to. I mean, it's difficult, and there's ideas there that I don't know that we
Mhm.
share. But
Well, one is
anyway,
Semitic.
yeah.
2, as you noted, 8th century. And 3, just a cosmology that'll blow your mind.
Right, but it was necessary in order to respond to the monothelitism,
Of course. Yeah.
to speak of both Christ
Right.
fully human, fully man,
Mhm.
with two wills,
Yeah.
which, you know, that's a whole nother conversation for another
Yes.
time. Is it a mystery? Not my will, but your will be done. I mean, he does say it.
Yeah.
So figure that one out. No, you don't
Yeah.
figure it out. You confess
Right.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. You live in it. You
Hmm.
don't. One of the things we talk about in previous classes is don't tell the parable, pray that you become the parable. Don't
Hmm.
talk about Job or Jonah. Pray to become wrapped up and be a Jonah, be a Job. And in a certain sense, and I don't want to get too rigid with this, but in a certain sense, it's like a child wearing his father's clothing and going to his job when you're talking about parables rather than living it. When you're wrapped up in a parable and you come out the other side and go, oh, oh, I was living a parable and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And then when you tell the parable, you're talking from the inside rather than from the outside.
I
You're
mean,
not overstanding, you're understanding.
that is what family stories are in a way, then,
Yes, they are. Yeah.
because they're significant. We call them significant events, but
Hmm.
significant story,
They're parables.
they're parables.
Again, postmoderns are taught that words have no meaning. Again, it's all an accident of psychology or biochemical reactions in the brain and electrical impulses. But to be given that language, to give words to the mystery, is almost exclusively parabolic. Otherwise, it descends into theory and commentary and explanations that freeze the original thing. Versus, no, you're handed the language, you're handed the imagery, the mythology of it, and told, don't stand outside and look at it like it's a theater production.
Right.
Look around and look for the patterns. Look for where the mystery. It's like I talk about with these poets, Seamus Heaney and Robert Bly, learning from them the past 4 years how to give words to the mystery of where you're located rather than where you wish you were. Because so often you can read a poet or a writer and they'll write about where they wish they were or the place that they wish they inhabited versus for Heaney in Ireland and for Bly in Minnesota, and because I'm Minnesotan, and there's these, again, earthy lyrical relationships between Bly and Heaney, they're saying, hey, here's the mystery in the ordinary. Here's the meaning of the ordinary because of that mystery. And here's some words that I came up with that I was inspired to put down to name the mystery so that you can recognize you don't have to find a Shangri-La or a Nirvana to live in mystery. You don't create it.
Right.
It's all around you. It's reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people fail to recognize because, again, we deny mystery in the present tense is that you're supposed to walk. The church for centuries was known as a mystery religion. This was commonly applied by church people and theologians, not the outside world.
Yeah.
We're a mystery religion.
So what? I mean, the criticism of that language is by mystery you mean imaginary,
Of course, because that's the modern interpretation of mystery.
Right.
Versus, as we noted, spiritual truth.
Well,
Like,
Jesus
this is
says,
higher
and we
truth.
say, well, how can that be? It's like,
Right.
because it is.
Right.
Because I say so, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw this clip. I just have to mention it from, I think he's a troll now, or I don't know what you want to call him, Harari. He was at the World Economic Forum
Okay.
and talking, the Homo sapiens guy,
Mm-hmm.
talking about how, well, what AI does so well is work with words, and what will happen when the AI knows your holy book better than you do. He becomes your God. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, such a mechanical view of words, and as
He's
if,
right, though. He's right.
well, the way that most people treat faith, I guess, or not
And
faith, the
AI.
faith and AI. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm?
give me a higher truth.
Well, think about the alternative: nihilism, or AI is my God.
Did I post this article or maybe send it to you? I don't know. I don't think I did. It was really compelling to me because we've talked about the lack of a nous,
Mm-hmm.
a
Consciousness, the
conscious,
soul,
yeah,
spirit,
soul.
whatever.
But I read something else interesting that applied Tolkien to the idea. It's like what it lacks is it's not a sub-creator. That's
Mm-hmm.
Tolkien's
Yeah.
language, is that we're
Yeah.
sub-creators. It's
Right.
necessary for us to do this, to extemporaneous create things, right?
Yeah.
From the resources God has given us,
Right.
what we've received. It's like writing's the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but conversation is that. But since we don't have conversations, especially long form, we can't have a long conversation.
Right.
Like you're saying, not by the fireside, not in any other context.
Mm-hmm.
We don't compose either short or long form things for the most part.
So, nous, from the
Mm-hmm.
Greek, nous, from the Attic Greek, nous, is commonly translated as intelligence, perception, intellect, mind.
Yeah.
But there's a note, which is it's always difficult to find an English word to represent nous because the standard dictionary translation is mind, but this doesn't have the correct connotation because the word is particularly used in religion.
Yeah.
And so for Pythagoras and Plato and Plotinus, the nous is something divine. And so at least the nearest approach to its activity that we can conceive of is something divine is happening. That is what you would call, intellect or whatever, or the mind is actually not that at all, but rather, like McGilchrist says, your brain isn't capable of conscious thought. It's just fatty tissue. If you take it out and put it on a table, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So the robot can take your place.
And so consciousness
Of
or
your mind.
nous isn't the brain. It's rather the brain is the vehicle, as he says, for the nous. It's the instrument of the divine.
Yeah.
So like I was taught, the imagination, as we call it, is the path of the Holy Spirit. That's inspiration. That's the actual definition of to be inspired, to be breathed into. So what we call imagining is really the work of the movement of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. So it's not purely rational. It's not purely
Well, otherwise it would be a
reasonable.
mystery.
Yeah. And it's not, but it does have emotion. It has, what do we call it? Like intellect, something like that,
Perception.
perception, right?
But even that's not good enough because mystery is not perception. You can't perceive mystery.
No. And I like what Chad says. I mean, it's not mental computation either.
Correct. It's not math.
There's no math. There's our Nagel quote from where was it with Luther and what's his name? No more
Zwingli?
mathematics. No, not Zwingli. It was at Marburg. Was it Marburg?
Okay.
Was that Zwingli at Marburg?
Marburg colloquy.
Okay, yeah. The Marburg colloquy. No more mathematics is Dr. Nagel's summary of Luther's argument against
Yeah.
Zwingli because he was trying to rationalize, demysterialize. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah. Demystify.
Demystify. There's the word. Yeah, demystify the sacrament of the altar.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. Right? It's not comprehensible to reason.
Well, and that's the point. Lewis isn't going to address it in the article, I don't think, or the essay. But the work of the modern church has been to demystify the church up to the point of just removing the Lord's Supper altogether and baptism.
I don't know. I mean,
Because you can't get around the mystery of it.
You can't. No. So you have to set it aside then.
Yeah.
Or
And then
at least
replace it with something else that makes sense.
right. But I always point this out to people because Christ likens our relationship to Him in the church as one of marriage. I'm like, your marriage
Is a mystery.
is a mystery. You know it
Right.
is.
Yeah.
you cannot explain why it even, like, quote unquote, works.
Right.
If
Right.
When you're honest, if you're honest,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know that like a commitment when I was 20 to, like, and of
Right.
course it's I don't know. I don't know. It's not just a rational choice. It can't be,
Trust me,
because
love
reason
has
would
almost nothing to do with reason.
right, because reason would
Yeah.
say, this is not working.
Hmm.
There's better economic decision you can
Right.
make or whatever, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So all that being said, we're going to get into God in the Dock today. We'll provide a link in the show notes actually for the entire manuscript on PDF that is available from orcutchristian.org. So thanks to Orcut Christian for posting this.
I'm not sure about the
If it's
legality
legal,
of
but
that.
here it is. And of course, since I'm driving the car today, we're going to essay number 5, Myth Became Fact, which I take exception with the title from the outset, but here we go.
Mhm.
Fact in the sense of it happened historically,
Correct.
which is a very, very loose understanding of history at that point, because history is not factual. It's true, but it's not factual.
Yeah. We're playing
Fact in the sense of the scientific method. This is how I'm using it.
right.
Is it repeatable in a lab?
Well, he's not writing this to mysterious people. He's writing this to post
Yes.
Enlightenment rationalists.
Like the Christmas essay we read, Christmas
Right.
to the pagans, right? He's
Right.
saying to
Exactly.
the Christians, actually, you know, I really wish you could convert to paganism so you could actually become a Christian,
Right.
because you're really more of an atheist than a Christian. So likewise, responding to those, like with Chesterton, a generation before, who say, there's no mystery, it's just we haven't discovered it yet. So my friend Quirinius, and this is great, he has advanced the charge, and actually this is why I want to read this, is just the first sentence.
Okay.
My friend Quirinius has advanced the charge that none of us are in fact Christians at all. According to him, historic Christianity is something so barbarous that no modern man can really believe it. The moderns who claim to do so are in fact believing a modern system of thought which retains the vocabulary of Christianity and exploits the emotions inherited from it while quietly dropping its essential doctrines. I read that and went, well, he's right. Like, he's right. This is my contemporary
yes.
experience of the church.
Yeah, your friend figured it out. Well,
Yeah. Quirinius compared modern Christianity with the modern English monarchy. The forms of kingship have been retained, but the reality has been abandoned. Yeah, the
puppet
hierarchy.
king. A puppet king. Yeah.
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 All this I believe to be false, except of a few quote-unquote modernist theologians who, by God's grace, become fewer every day. Oh, you spring flower.
Did it actually? No.
No, they just composted and more grew.
It's like
But
weeds.
for the moment,
Yes.
yeah. But for the moment, let us assume, excuse
Bless you.
me.
Hmm.
But for the moment, let us assume that Quirinius is right. Let us pretend, for purposes of argument, that all who now call themselves Christians have abandoned the historic doctrines. Let us suppose that modern Christianity reveals a system of names, ritual, formulae, and metaphors which persists, although the thoughts behind it have changed. Quirinius ought to be able to explain the persistence,
Has he not seen the modern Church of England?
right?
No, he didn't. I mean, he's not prophetic then,
No,
Lewis. No,
nope.
not on this. Quirinius
All
was.
this, yeah. All this I believe to be false, except of a few modernist theologians. So why then, on Quirinius's view, do all these educated and enlightened pseudo-Christians insist on expressing their deepest thoughts in terms of an archaic mythology, which must hamper and embarrass them at every turn?
Why do they keep using all these
Weird
archaic
stuff.
forms?
Yeah,
Yeah, why do they keep
so
saying all
weird.
the strange words? Why don't they just give up on it? And unfortunately, they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do they refuse to cut the umbilical cord, which binds the living and flourishing child to its moribund mother? For if Quirinius is right, it should be a great relief to them to do so. Yet the odd thing is that even those who seem to most embarrassed by the sediment of barbaric Christianity in their thought become suddenly obstinate when you ask them to get rid of it altogether.
Hmm.
They will strain the cord almost to breaking point, but they refuse to cut it. Sometimes they will take every step except the last one. If all who professed Christianity were clergymen, it would be easy, though uncharitable, to reply that their livelihood depends on not taking that last step. Yet even if this were the true cause of their behavior, even if all clergymen are intellectual prostitutes who preach for pay, and usually starvation pay, what they secretly believe to be false, surely so widespread a darkening of conscience among thousands of men, not otherwise known to be criminal, itself demands explanation. And of course, the profession of Christianity is not confined to the clergy. It is professed by millions of women and laymen who earn thereby contempt, unpopularity, suspicion, and the hostility of their own families. How does this come to happen?
Yeah. This is a famous apologetic kind of
Mm-hmm.
defense. I'm trying to remember what its name is. It didn't come to me right away. But like, why would the apostles die for a lie?
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
argument. What
Yeah.
she's setting up here is like, why are people continuing to persist in this if it's a lie?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Or if it's if it's not true, maybe not fact, but not true. I like the word true better there. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think it's a compelling argument for people just in a almost less rational and more emotional kind of sense,
Sure.
right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like, well,
Why
all
would
these people,
you suffer contempt and unpopularity and suspicion and hostility from your own family
especially, yeah.
if it's not true?
Mm-hmm.
Obstinacies of this sort are interesting. Why not cut the cord, asks Corinius. Everything would be much easier if you would free your thought from this vestigial mythology. Again, it's just like snot stuck to your finger. You just want to flick it off. Like, why?
Yeah,
Why not
but
just do it?
people, what do they say? Cut the cords.
Yeah, cut the
that
cord,
bind.
baby.
Cut
Yeah,
the
let your
cord.
kids go.
Let them go. Yeah,
Let Christian history go. Just
yeah.
cut the
And
cord.
doctrine. I mean, that was his point at the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Right. The teachings.
So to be sure, far easier, right, to just let it go. Life would be far easier for the mother if an invalid child, if she put it into an institution and adopted someone else's healthy baby instead.
Just swap it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life would be far easier to many a man if he abandoned the woman he has actually fallen in love with and married someone else because she is more suitable. Oh, if you had only lived longer.
Mm.
The only defect of the healthy baby and the suitable woman is that they leave out the patient's only reason for bothering about a child or wife at all. Would not conversation be much more rational than dancing? Said Jane Austen's Bingley.
I think it's Miss Bingley.
Miss Bingley, there we go.
Yeah, I just didn't OCR right.
Oh, here we go. Much more rational, replied Mr. Bingley, but such less like a ball. That is a big dance.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, it would be much more rational to abolish the English monarchy. But how if, by doing so, you leave out the one element in our state which matters most? How if the monarchy is the channel through which all the vital elements of citizenship, loyalty, the consecration of secular life, the hierarchical principle, splendor, ceremony, continuity, still trickle down to irrigate the dust bowl of modern economic statecraft?
Statecraft. Although now I'm thinking Charles III. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Is it loyal? I'd love to be a monarchist
Sure.
if it was this. Right?
Well, this is when the hierarchy is solid, it's because the ruler is a godly man who understands the power of confession and absolution. That is
even performatively, I would say.
right. Well, that's what he's arguing for. It may be performative at this point, but it still actually orders society as a whole
Right. And that
around the
hierarchical
mystery
principle.
of
Yeah.
the monarchy.
Right.
Whereas we hear this in the present tense where Americans will mock British people for still mourning the death of the queen, for example, and saying they don't even do
But
anything. They're just welfare recipients. They have no actual
right.
power. Why do you guys keep this up?
But the king now or queen
Hmm.
before is the constitutive element of government for the United Kingdom.
Right.
Like without that, you don't
Hmm.
have a government.
Right.
That's the only thing that holds things together because it's the only thing that's constant. They keep. I mean, how many prime ministers in the last since like even
Yeah.
since COVID? We're on our third, I think, right? Liz
Yeah.
Truss and who was before that? I can't remember the names of these people.
Hmm.
And the guy now is a banker, right? Of
Hmm.
course, just like Canada. All right. That's not holding that country together. I don't
Hmm.
know. I think the country is unraveling too, but that's
Well, of
another
course,
story.
because the vestigial mythology of the monarchy has eroded to the point now that
Oh, did we
it
talk about
it
what's his
may
name?
not have secular power, but now it also doesn't have symbolic mythological power.
Yeah, have we talked about Jerusalem, the poem? Um,
Yeah.
what's his name? I'm trying to remember the author. Oh, William Blake,
Hmm.
of course, right? And I mean, the poem itself is one of these like you have to know the poem.
Hmm.
And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green? And was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, that has to be it. I mean, they understood themselves as a Christian nation. And then, of
Hmm.
course, I love the line about the dark satanic mills
Yeah.
because he's not William Blake is not a big fan.
No, not a fan of the Industrial Revolution.
No, no, because there is something about the English countryside is like, I know it's a trope, but this is what you do. You go to the countryside
Right.
to vacation. I mean, or
Hmm.
to whatever. They don't call it vacation. What do they call it? To weekend? I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to speak like an English person. I'm not there.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's too bad.
I didn't. It's not my fault.
But the point is if you cut all
Hmm.
those things off and you just become like London Town people, like
Hmm.
EastEnders or something. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not a transcendent, um, I guess, mythology, right? To
Well,
hold them
here's a
together.
simple way of saying it: is that the purpose to go to the forest, to the wilderness, is because when the center is in chaos, genius comes from the margins
Hmm.
with the solution, with the medicine.
Like Liverpool with the Beatles.
So you go to the country in order to, so the whole purpose for leaving the center is because it's in chaos.
Hmm.
That's why you leave. But then the ethic there is then you're going to bring back wisdom from the margins
Hmm.
to then make the chaos cosmic again. And the dilemma, the temptation though, is that the wilderness is so seductive because it's not this chaotic
It's its
center,
own, yeah, it's more than
and it's
escape.
Edenic. That's the key.
Hmm.
Is we'll move out to the country because it's Edenic, it's paradisiacal, versus the center can't be that way because of math, because of intellect, and because there has to be rules and order, and there's so many people,
Just the
and
structure of the thing.
right. Well,
Hmm.
it's Babel ultimately is what it
Hmm.
is,
Right.
and it's the anti-paradise. It's anti-Eden actually.
It's called city planning.
Yes, and so the city is an actual functional Babel and symbolic of the anti-Eden, is then compared and contrasted with the country with this Edenic paradisiacal life.
Hmm.
So you want to stay there because you say, "Oh, well, this is so much better," versus no. The again in the story arc, you go to the margin to receive the wisdom to bring it back to the village to stabilize it, not stay
Right.
away forever. So even if you're gone for, let's say, 12 years, eventually you still come back.
Right.
And when you come back, you've got this wisdom now to say to the village or the town or whatever, we can stabilize the center again because this is what we lost and now it's been found.
But I mean, don't they receive it as a kind of madness though? You're the madman.
Yes, well, the genius comes from the margin. So think of David on his donkey with the head of Goliath. He comes from literally the
Mm,
wilderness into the center, into the city, which is in chaos because of Saul's reign.
right.
And he's seen as a fool. And that's the point, though. Jesus is a fool when he rides his donkey into Jerusalem.
I mean,
He,
the armor doesn't even fit him.
right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So there's this understanding though that the genius will always be viewed as a fool, always be received as a fool. This is why my confirmands, when we do Grimm's folktales for confirmation, it only took 3 lessons before they could identify who Jesus was in the story,
Yeah.
because it's always the fool. And yet by the end of the story, it's only, the fool is the only one with the wisdom to free the people from greed or lust or gluttony, because the fool is out there at the margins and in a sense is teachable and recognizes what's good, beautiful, and true because they're simple.
Yeah. But you do have the warning too, thinking of, David's son,
Mm-hmm.
who goes from, instructed by his father, passing on that wisdom to his own son,
Right.
and then becoming,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gets consumed by his own
Because he's never
inclinations.
wandered.
No. You
He's
know who
never
did come
been.
back
He's
after
never been
wandering?
humbled.
That was Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Yeah.
Where he was
Yeah.
the madman in the
Correct.
wilderness.
It's one of my favorite images when I tell that in Bible class is you're standing there, you're talking, you're having your morning
And
coffee,
he turned into a donkey.
and then you go and your friend, your neighbor goes, "Did I just see a naked guy run by?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, that's the king. He does that."
Yeah, he doesn't clip his nails
You're
anymore.
like,
He grew
how,
long hair
how long has this been going on? About 5 years or so now.
on all fours. Yeah.
Everyone just like, yeah, that's the king. Yep, there he goes.
Like,
Just
what
a
were they?
madman.
Did they just have an interim? I
Yeah,
don't-
right. They're like, no, he'll be back eventually. But again, in the ancient world, this was understood. This was implicit.
Mhm.
This is how this happens. This is the pattern here, and
Otherwise, you get consumed by your own
chaos.
chaos.
Chaos takes over, and it's over.
Mhm.
It's over. But God always sends a prophet from the margins. Always sends that genius, that wisdom figure from the margins. God always read the Bible. Like just
Mhm.
read the Bible. The pattern is there constantly. Joseph is from the margins. Jacob is obviously from the margins. The Parsifal legend might be actually loosely based on Jacob. But we see this over and over and over. Moses, obviously,
Yeah.
and so on, and all the prophets is you got to go out to the margins if you're not there already. John the Baptizer, all the disciples are sent to the margins by Jesus. Jesus himself exists at the margins because that's kind of where God lives. It's where he's, like the wedding at Cana. He's always at the edge
Yeah.
of
His
the party.
disciple. We just read this in John 7. The
Mm-hmm.
disciples say, "Yeah, you got to come to the and show yourself at the
Yeah.
Feast of Tabernacles."
Yeah.
He's like, "Nope, it's not my time yet."
Yep.
He does show, but he comes secretly.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So that's like through the back door,
Mm-hmm.
not the normal way,
Right.
not with pomp and circumstance. That'll come later, but
Right. And that's
it's
to the Blake's poem as well, is that of course Jesus walked on Britain's soil. Of course he did. He's the seed. He's the logos.
I know, but it sounds like kind of mumbo jump and not mumbo
To
jumbo.
us it does. Yeah.
Right. It's like, wait a minute, no, England is not Jerusalem.
Right.
And yeah, that is not what we confess about the church.
Every church is Jerusalem.
Right.
Because Jesus is true Israel. Yeah.
Right. But to say that it's the nation, I mean, that's where it gets a little bit makes us uncomfortable. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is England really God's chosen people? Well,
In Christ.
right.
Of course.
Exactly. Yeah. So can you have, I mean, we can't even get this language into our heads that,
Mhm.
that for almost all of human history, state and faith were bound.
Mhm.
And
Right.
this sharp distinction, a la Madison, Jefferson, right? I mean, it's
Right.
just not. It's unknown until the last 200
Right.
years.
Right. But I think for
Well,
listeners
since the
in
French
particular,
Revolution,
without
probably.
having to spend all of your time reading these things and processing and thinking deeply, this entire thing from the late 1600s, 1700s forward has been we need to deconstruct mystery. So
Mhm.
even like Madison and Adams, they're saying we got to get rid of mystery.
Yeah. Well, it's government without God. I mean,
Right.
God bestows gifts upon
Well, it's
us.
also destroying the hierarchy
Mhm.
on purpose so you can rebuild it to
No,
suit
I
you.
don't know. I mean, maybe Jefferson. I don't think Madison was that way. I think because Madison will say directly
Mm,
that without Christian faith, none of this is going to work.
right.
Right. So he understands that there has to be a subordination
Mhm.
of vocation,
Right.
in Christ. So I wouldn't put that past him. I don't know that all the founders are that way. I think
Right.
there's too much Enlightenment, French Enlightenment, especially going
Yeah.
going around to really.
And during
feel
the French
good that way.
Enlightenment, the devil was presented as an anti-hero.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
That's
church
where
was
that image was
destroyed. That's
popularized.
right. Yeah. And we
So-
substituted doctrine with what's the three? Liberty, equality, and I can't remember the third one. You see it all over France.
Liberty, equity, and justice.
I can't remember now.
I
But
just
it's-
watched the French version of the Three Musketeers. It was everywhere in the movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
great? It's 2 parts. It's great.
Dumas? Is that was he in the Revolution?
Alexander Dumas.
I don't
Well, that's
know.
the whole point of the Musketeers is that the church and the crown are constantly arguing over
Hmm.
who should have control, and
So it is a criticism. at
Richelieu
least.
wants to get rid of them because they're protecting the king, and he wants to usurp the throne, and blah blah blah. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
So the real answer of even the most modernist Christianity, Quirinius, is the same. Even assuming, which I most constantly deny, that the
Fraternity.
Oh, there we go. There we
The brotherhood.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
The last vestiges of chivalry.
Liberty, equality, and fraternity.
There
Yep.
we go.
National motto of France and Haiti.
Huh, weird. Wonder what the relationship might be.
They speak French. I don't know.
Well, I mean, one was there for a minute.
Yeah.
Even assuming, by the way, I actually have the book right here. Explosion in a Cathedral is about the Cuban Revolution. Anyway, Alejo Carpentier, he's one of my favorite authors, and he wrote about the revolution in Haiti.
Did he? Oh.
Yeah, it's a very famous book in Haiti, in South America, but Alejo Carpentier is his name.
Okay.
And then my son got me the Explosion in a Cathedral by Carpentier for Christmas. So, doctrines of historic Christianity are merely mythical. They're just this mysterious, otherworldly, and of course he means fantastical, childish, superstitious nonsense. It is the myth, which is the vital and nourishing element in the whole concern, writes Lewis. Quirinius wants us to move with the times. Well, we see who won the war in this argument, don't we?
Yeah, I know. Quirinius won.
Yeah. Now we know where times move. They move away. But in religion, we find something that does not move away. It is what Quirinius calls the myth that abides. The myth abides. It is what he calls the modern and living thought that moves away. I think he calls that progress.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the thought of theologians, but the thought of anti-theologians. Where are the predecessors of Quirinius? Where is the Epicureanism of Lucretius, the pagan revival of Julian the Apostate? Where are the Gnostics? Where is the monism of Avois, the deism of Voltaire, the dogmatic materialism of the great Victorians? They have moved with the times. But the thing they were all attacking remains. Quirinius finds it still there to attack. The myth, to speak his language, has outlived the thoughts of all its defenders and of all its adversaries. It is the myth that gives life. Those elements, even in modernist Christianity, which Quirinius regards as vestigial, are the substance. What he takes for the real modern belief is the shadow.
Yeah. So all of the ritual and rite and none of the substance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like processed food.
Yeah, kabuki theater.
Kabuki
Processed
theater,
food. Yeah.
right? Yeah, you've removed all the nutritional benefit, but it still tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Hmm.
Just a Dash, by the way. That's the show. Just a Dash. I texted you about that last night.
You did. I looked it up, but I didn't get
It's so good. The first two episodes of season 3, which is where we started, are so hilarious. It's so guerrilla. It feels like almost like a mid 90s, late 90s MTV show in the sense of like super guerrilla. And
yeah.
he's a master chef, but he cooks with just processed foods. It's just amazing.
So, I mean, I understand what Lewis is saying what he's going to try to argue for, at least the direction I'm seeing, it's been a while since I read this, is, that the church, that the remnant will be preserved. The church will always survive because it's Christ's church. And it's directed by the Holy Spirit and, and it's founded on the fact of Christ's death and resurrection. Fine. But also it seems like the Epicureanism of Lucretius, that's persisted too. Right? Pagan revivals, those still happen. The Gnosticism, so still pretty alive and well, I guess, even in its death. The deism of Voltaire, dogmatic materialism, we've never talked about that on this show.
I think the reason it persists, because I have people who send me videos all the time that I'm supposed to watch, is if the church is the big bad, then the things that the church has condemned are obviously good simply by virtue of being condemned by the big bad. So Gnosticism is probably a good thing because the church condemns it. Again, the hermeneutics of suspicion dictate if the big bad says it's bad, it's good, and if the big bad says it's good, it's definitely bad.
Whereas if the church is preserved by God's doing, then the opposition to the church, its inverse or it's whatever, it's distortions. Those will. There's nothing new under the sun, to quote Solomon now. Finally, right? I mean,
to go back to like Milton's devil. The devil is cast out of heaven because he basically goes, well, what do you mean? How come? Why do we have to do this? Right? He's He's fighting against the monarchicalism of this oppressive, tyrannical God figure to Milton
Right.
and to Blake to a certain extent,
Right.
and others of that generation. So again, the devil as an anti-hero is condemned because the church doesn't want a rebellion on its hands. So it created this big bad rebel. But then when society wants to revolt against the throne and the church says you can't do that because the throne is godly, and you say, but the queen is a tyrant, something's got to give.
Yeah.
So if the throne is God given and the throne is tyrannical, then God's tyrannical. And if the devil was kicked out of heaven for revolting, then he's the actual hero of the story.
He's just
And then
misunderstood.
he's just misunderstood. And therefore we are going to revolt. And thus you get Satanism as a form of not devil worship in the sense of like candles and pentagrams and casting
It's just
spells,
the necessity of the
but
of
literal
opposition.
Satanism of the sense of Satan was the rebel and we're rebels against the same throne.
Yeah, but I mean that's like the dualism of, I don't know, Star Wars or something,
Yeah,
right?
duel
Where
of the fates, baby.
well, you can't have a light side unless there is a dark side. Like you
Right.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
The light side becomes the dark side if it doesn't
Right.
know the dark.
Yeah, light and shadow, the cave.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's just Greek philosophy.
Right, right.
Well, and others, Eastern too, I suppose, yin and
Mhm.
yang and all of that.
Well, that's where they got it from, actually. Probably
But-
through Alexander.
But I mean, so there's probably a reflection in reality, though. If Christ is continually going to be preached, then his
Mhm.
word, because of sinful man, then there's going to be opposition, and it's not going to look all that different.
Right.
I mean, the arguments maybe change in their vocabulary, but
Mhm.
they're primarily the same arguments.
Well, of course, because the human heart doesn't change, and the Ten Commandments are what they are.
Right.
You have 10 options, and there's only 7 deadly sins. So,
Right. Right.
and I think too, then, and you alluded to it, is the preaching of Christ has to not lean into mystery. It has to be wrapped up in mystery because listening, I might be taking another class here in February, we'll see, but on cosmology in particular in the ancient world. But the argument that Christmas is pagan and the Christians stole it from them and Easter's pagan, is like, if you start pulling out all the pagan elements of the Bible, you're going to be at it for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And what do you
Because
mean
the
by
cross
pagan?
is pagan, right? The cross is a Roman execution stake. The whole act of crucifixion is pagan. It's a pagan practice. It's not Christian. And so once you start breaking it down that way with
But
modern
I mean-
definitions,
I mean, it's funny because the accusation of pagan was, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
the civilized Romans said
all
about
people that lived outside the city, yeah,
right.
paganus, right,
Right.
farmers.
Yeah, exactly. The farmer style. So, I mean, it's Iowa style. Is if you're getting upset with pagan, that's like, and if you want everything simplified down to rational and reasonable, you're just becoming city dwellers, actually.
Exactly, you are. Yes,
Yeah,
100%. And
yeah.
so, as I jokingly said all through Advent, and then actually did, Christmas is God became a baby so we can eat him.
You're just trying to bait people into
Yeah,
being
Christmas
upset.
Eve. That's how I started. I kicked off Christmas Eve with that statement. We're all here to commemorate the fact that God became a baby so we could eat him.
Well, what I had lined up for today will be a great follow up to this next week.
Great.
I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah.
But without the mystery, by trying to make Christianity sensible and Jesus not this wild, margin walking God who encounters people and changes their lives forever in inexplicable ways, well, that's why the churches are dead.
Right.
It's third article stuff. Once again, the Holy Spirit calls people by the gospel and gathers them and enlightens them through the gospel, through
Right.
the gifts. Well, there's a mystery there. And sensible Christianity has said to the mystery, we don't, in fact, not only do we not need you, but you're really in the way, to Quirinius's argument.
Yeah.
And so we'll be quote unquote liturgical, but we don't actually believe that what the liturgy is claiming is actually happening.
Yeah. And Lewis is trying to make a defense or an apology, say,
Right.
no, there is a transcendent truth
Right.
that is the reason why that keeps meeting opposition and why and also why it persists
Right.
is because it's not from inside.
Right.
It's not following the desires or intents of the heart. It's following, God's own
Yeah.
giving.
Right.
So it transcends, but also the attacks then could be perceived as being transcendent
Correct.
because of the presence of the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
To explain this, we must look a little closer at myth in general, and at this myth in particular. Human intellect is incurably abstract. Pure mathematics is the type of successful thought. Yet the only realities we experience are concrete. this pain, this pleasure, this dog, this man. While we are loving the man, bearing the pain, enjoying the pleasure, we are not intellectually apprehending pleasure, pain, or personality. When we begin to do so, on the other hand, the concrete realities sink to the level of mere instances or examples. We are no longer dealing with them, but with that which they exemplify. This is so key.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, there is this in the oral tradition. There is in life. Then there is a movement that's expected to happen, which is persona to personality. Persona is the word for mask. So when you're young, for example, you're mostly persona. You're mostly all persona. That is, you're trying on different masks as a youth and in your early 20s. And so you're, quote unquote, riding someone else's horse, right?
Yeah.
You're sailing someone else's ship.
Yeah.
And the expectation is after you've tried on these different masks, personas, eventually you will figure out who, you'll ride your own horse, right?
But
That's what mentoring is for, actually.
isn't it like the mentoring is trying to put you into a, not always, but try to put you into a stereotype, into a box?
Into a vocation.
Yeah. Okay.
That is, again, like in the Percival myth, he's wearing the Red Knight's armor, but he's not a knight yet. And so then he has to be encountered by someone who is an actual knight who says, I will train you, Red Knight.
Oh, I was going in the negative sense. You're doing the positive sense.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Versus without that mentor, and mentoring is finite, otherwise it becomes familial and things kind of unspool. The mentor is the one who says, okay, Red Knight, here's the rules, and here's training. Here's how you do this, and here's how you do that, and here's how you speak, and here's how you conduct yourself, and so on. And yet, Parsifal isn't given his true name until later, and so he's known as the Red Knight, even though his mentor knows he's not the real Red Knight, not Ither, the original Red Knight. But because he wears his armor, he still honors the office, he still honors the vocation, and then says, "Listen, I got to train you up." So you're worthy of your name. You're worthy of your station.
But is that an abstraction from Parzival himself? Or
No,
is it...
because he's Bofus to his mother calls him Bofus, beautiful face, because she doesn't want him to be connected with the court, Camelot knights or anything, because his father was a knight and got killed on the road to Baghdad. And she doesn't want that for her child. She leaves court and moves out into the woods, actually, to shield Bofus from that, because she doesn't want him to die like his father.
Sure.
But yet he is going to be Parzival eventually. He's fated to actually become the greatest knight of his generation of the land. So then through a complete, again, accident, he kills Ither, the Red Knight, takes his armor. It's a grotesque scene because Ither is still dying from the wound while Bofus is trying to rip his armor off of him, and he gets on the Red Knight's horse, and the horse just takes off because it's not his horse. He's riding another man's horse. And the horse eventually takes him to his mentor. And then through that, he becomes a knight. And yet within that but who is it that's going to give you your true name, that is your personality. That is who you are as a person. And so until that happens, you're always wearing personas, masks. And
so is it a move from abstraction to concreteness?
Correct.
Then?
100%.
Okay.
Yes. It's, in another way of saying it, you're moving from exposition to encounter, right? You're no longer theorizing about Jesus. You've been encountered by Jesus. I've heard about Jesus. I've heard about this guy who does these miraculous healings. But then when I encounter Jesus, now I'm healed in fact.
Right.
And the whole event changed me now. Whereas when you're persona and you're wearing masks, you're not going to be changed necessarily because it's not your calling. It's not your true vocation. It's not your name.
Right.
And so
we see this with children.
Right.
Because on the one hand, you have the parents who try to impose something upon them.
Yes.
Versus, I would say probably more our style is like, let's help our children discover.
Yeah, that's a very modern thing, isn't it?
I know, but I mean, give them opportunities to learn and to live.
Assuming there's no hierarchy, that's why.
Well, no, but that there is...
lateral movement.
No, but not that they transcend who they are, but that they become who they are.
Well,
right?
kind
Am I
of.
saying?
That's a
Yeah.
very modern way of saying it.
I
but
know. Well,
yes.
I'm a modern person. I'm sorry.
Yes, I know. I know. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. I mean,
Hmm. Well,
um,
that's kind of the theme of Lewis too, though, is that we don't even have the lexicon anymore to have this
mm,
conversation.
we have to use their words. So myth,
So
fact,
that means
whatever.
I
Yeah.
get to be the fool
Okay. All
who
right.
brings the wisdom and goes, "Hey, I found all these things. They're great. My mentors gave them to me. Check this out."
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, we think of children as like abstract possibility.
Hmm. Right. Pure
Um,
potentiality.
yeah,
It's very Aristotelian.
it is. It is. And I mean, I don't, but
Little acorns waiting to be mighty oaks.
I mean, they are who they are. They
Hmm.
will be who they will be. I mean,
That's the fate part. That's the destiny part.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so the whole purpose of mentoring wasn't to say, I'm going to form you into who you're going to be, but rather, I'm going to give you these tools. I'm going to train you so that when your vocation comes to you, you're ready
mm.
for it.
I have a fantasy book where they keep giving him a hard time because he won't carry a sword.
Mm-hmm.
He insists on the axe, which was the first tool that he learned,
Mm-hmm.
was the axe, and it's just like, but he can't give it up. I mean,
Right.
even though he's a wolf, so wolves don't carry axes. I mean, it's a whole thing, but
It's the whole thing.
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Right.
Right.
But it's like, will he ever give up the axe? It's just, that's the
Right.
tool. I mean, it's almost like part of his arm because
Well,
that's
so
who
again, in the it's you have your outer name, it's called, and your inner
Mhm.
name. Your inner
Yeah.
name is your true name. Your outer name is your professional name. So when is it Ganymed says, he doesn't call Bophus Bophus or Parsifal Parsifal. He calls him Red Knight. He calls him his outer name, his outside name,
Pastor.
his public
Yeah.
name, pastor, knight, police
Hmm.
officer, whatever. Your inner name
Officer.
is your true name, which has to be given to you, by the way. You can't just, it's like in brothers-in-law when they tell each other their nicknames. And he's like, my name's Nighthawk. It's like, you gave yourself that name. We know you gave yourself that name. That's the funny part of the bit, is you can't give yourself a cool nickname because it doesn't fit. Your name has to be given to you by someone
Mine was.
else. Yeah. And so, but all your names have to be that way
Yeah, I think so.
because they lived in a world where everything is external, everything's happening around you, to you, rather than we who live in an internal world where we think everything's happening in us, and then we put that out there in the world and we change reality.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you don't do this. You don't correct people when they call you either Pastor, Donovan, what, I
Yeah,
mean, you
no,
just let it be because
that's the name they're giving me
yeah.
and all that comes with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe they don't recognize your office or something. I mean, this is
Right.
why people get upset about this. It's like, you
Mhm.
need to recognize me as pastor. Well,
Again, that's
you'll
a
call me
mathematic,
pastor when
but
I
that's
am
a
pastor.
mathematical understanding then. It's a very
Yeah, I suppose it's
rationalist
true.
take of like,
Yeah.
if you don't tell me the exact thing, then I'm not the thing, and that's disrespectful. Versus, what if divine inspiration's at work here, and something else is happening that's again spiritual? It's
It'd be
something
better if it'd be like the child's introduced to the president, and instead of
right,
calling him Mr. President, he says, "Hey, Donald."
right,
And Mr. President would be just fine with the child
yeah,
calling him Donald. Be like,
right,
"That's cool. It's endearing, right?"
yeah,
Why we don't do that with adults, I don't know.
right,
Well, we get all hung up on the performative categorization
yeah,
of things, I
yeah.
suppose, which is an abstraction.
That's modernity in a nutshell. Is how can we abstract everything by putting it in a category
Mm-hmm.
and reducing it to its mechanical elements?
Yeah.
And so we have to look closer at myth in general and this myth in particular because we have the terrible, incurable affliction of abstraction, pure mathematics. And so, of this tragic dilemma, myth is the partial solution. In the enjoyment of a great myth, we come nearest to experiencing as a concrete what can otherwise be understood only as an abstraction, to our earlier point there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, myth meaning truest truth, highest truth, heavenly truth, which again still accords with the definition of
The big
myth.
story. Yeah.
The big, well, what makes it true is that it's historical, to go to Tolkien's point.
That's
reason
and that's the
that
argument he's going to make here. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason that the Tolkien can say the gospel is the greatest folktale ever told is because it's true. It's historically true, whereas all the other folktales take place outside of history.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, then, for a myth to be the truest truth, it has to come from heaven, and it has to tell the truth. But it tells the truth hidden inside of something that we can comprehend.
So, is this why you like the Grail myth so much? Is because maybe it's real? It's true. I mean,
Well, of course
true in a
it's true.
historic
Yeah,
fact.
yeah.
There's a guy
Historically
named
true.
Arthur, and
Oh no, we know that there was an Uther. We know that.
And he had a table, and there were
Yeah,
knights, and
sure,
yeah,
why not?
yeah.
It's true. It's just not a fact. Yeah, of course.
I mean, demonstrable fact. You mean?
Well, yeah, in
Well,
the
facts have
scientific
to be
sense.
demonstrable. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
for them
Yes.
to be facts. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually do think science is pretty cool, and so I like to hold to the tenets of science,
Do you? Okay.
not
Yeah.
the isms of it, but the actual scientific method is pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, I like observing
The
things and trying
scientific
to.
enlightenment was mainly Lutherans
It was.
who
Yeah.
went to the sacrament every Sunday.
Amazing.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so we say things. Well, actually, I can go back here because I kind of skipped past some
You
part.
did.
Personality, yeah. So
I wasn't going to
personality.
point it out, but now you
Yeah,
did.
sorry. Personality from persona meaning masks
Hmm.
versus personality in the sense of who are you, like identity wise.
Yeah.
So when we begin to do so, apprehend pleasure, pain, or personality not as abstractions, but as actual things, the concrete realities sink to the level of mere instances or examples, that is, abstractions. We are no longer dealing with them, but with what they exemplify. This is our dilemma, either to taste and not to know, or to know and not to taste. Or more strictly, to lack one kind of knowledge because we are in an experience, or to lack another kind because we are outside that same experience.
Mm.
Again, like I talked about with theory versus actually being inside
It's
of
like I
it.
talk about with coffee too. It's like, well, I enjoyed this coffee.
Mhm.
And then as soon as you ask why,
Mhm.
it just kind of flattens it all out.
Right, yeah.
You're just like, well,
Describe
it
it.
tastes like strawberries. I'm like, no, it doesn't taste like
One of the
strawberries.
things that Shaw said in class is that the mind often dries out the heart by seeking out rational explanations.
Mm.
Make it make sense. I can't. The fact that I like our Chemex, we got a new Chemex, right?
Yes.
And none of the kids like black coffee. They all have to make their drinky, right? But we insisted that their first cup from the Chemex has to be black coffee. They have to taste the difference between the machine, the French press, and the Chemex.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, even my 8-year-old, said, I never thought I would like black coffee in my life, and now that's the only way that I'll drink this Chemex.
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah, because
black.
and they may need the paper filter,
Yeah,
because of what it does filter.
of course.
Yeah.
But you have to step back from the theory of the thing
Mm-hmm.
and go, no, just encounter it. Encounter the actual flavor profile of this coffee.
And experientially, they're all very different,
They are.
even
because
with the
they're-
same coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
one, their palates are different.
Yeah.
Number two, how we make it is different every time, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. That's the mystery part of it.
It's
and to-
okay.
Right. And this is why, like my former council president, who is very analytical and mathematical, who insists that everything has to be repeated the exact same way every time and has to have everything then the best so that it doesn't fail. When he's explaining you have to do this and you have to do that and you can't do it otherwise, he's an old Norwegian, so we joke about this constantly, is he has to have order. He has to have structure. He has to have categories because everything has to be repeatable. Otherwise, it might be bad.
I've never been able to repeat the experience of a cup of coffee,
No.
even the same coffee, even
Yeah,
just
of
like
course
the
not.
next day.
But
Like
that's the fun of it.
yeah, nothing's ever the same.
But this is why the moderns hated the ancient world, because it was messy and it was grounded in mystery and superstition. And
In other words, they wanted white bread.
yes,
Like
Wonder
Wonder
Bread.
Bread.
They
It's
want
always the same.
Wonder Bread. They want a McDonald's hamburger, so that no matter where I go in
I
the
did not-
world, it's the same.
I did not realize that some hamburger patties you buy have up to 1,000 cows,
Yeah,
different cows involved.
there we
That's
go.
how processed it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to a beef guy. Anyway,
Okay.
never mind.
Just randomly.
Well, you do
As
that.
we do?
We
Yeah.
both do that. We just
Yeah.
buy a cow, right?
Yeah.
So all the meat from that animal, it comes from one animal.
Yeah,
It's like there's
right.
no blending of
Yeah.
this and that.
We're very Levitical in that sense. No blending of polyester and cotton.
Don't boil the goat in the mother's
Right. No
milk.
turduckens in our house.
That's not what I meant. Two different cows blended together.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
This is straying into dangerous territory. So the more lucidly we think, the more we are cut off. The more deeply we enter into reality, the less we can think. That's the problem with mystery is
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to think about on the mountain. It just happened. You cannot study pleasure in the moment of the nuptial embrace, nor repentance while repenting, nor analyze the nature of humor while roaring with laughter.
How did that joke work?
Right. Ugh. Yuck. But when else can you really know these things? If only my toothache would stop, I could write another chapter about pain, which is actually the problem of pain. He wrote an entire book on that.
Yes, he did.
But once it stops, what do I know about pain? Like I was saying, right? When you're in it, then you can speak to it. But when you're in it, you don't speak to it because you're in it.
Hmm.
It's a paradox, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
the mystery of the thing is that something big is happening, but I'm so in the moment. I'm so present. No persona, no masks, just presence. That's what,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Well, and that's the
personality,
poet.
persona versus presence.
That's the poet's dilemma. I'm thinking of
Right.
hymn line. I think it's from Gerhardt, right? With what words can I express my love, dearest
Right.
friend, referring to Christ? Because it's like
Mm-hmm.
I, it's a Good Friday meditation, but it's like
Right.
I can't understand what I can't even comprehend the pain or
Right.
whatever. I mean, but I can hear it. I can hear the
Right.
truth of it.
This goes back to blessing again, is that rather than when Annie's not in the room and then I talk about how much I love her versus just telling her I love her.
Hmm.
The blessing is saying to her, I love you, because I'm filling her, I'm giving her food, I'm
Hmm.
feeding her soul.
Right.
Versus she's not in the room and I'm telling other people in the room why I love her. That's not a blessing, that's an affirmation. Because I'm saying to the people in the room, hey, look what a good husband I am. And look, because I love my wife this way, and I'm describing it and I'm categorizing it, I'm defining it.
Right.
Versus, no, love is a mystery. And especially when you've been married a long time, it becomes even more mysterious. To his point earlier about, like, why wouldn't you just leave your wife and go marry a woman that better suits you? The mystery of it is why you would stay with anybody for any length of time. And even in your public outward life, like, why would you be a pastor your whole life? Why not switch it up and go do something,
Yeah.
again, try to
Normal
rekindle
thing.
the
Career
fire?
change. Yeah. Career
Yeah.
change.
The mystery of it is in the blessing.
Hmm.
That is, you're not describing it, you're doing it. You're doing the words to the hearer. You're not talking about love to others. You're doing love to the other by announcing it. That's the blessing.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear this in marriage counseling. Like, she never says she loves me, or he never does anything nice for me anymore. It's just rote. We just do the exact same thing mechanically every day. Well, that's marriage.
Hmm.
Technically, it's boring. But number two, the mystery is gone,
You can't
really.
go from A to 2. You have to go to A
Yeah.
to B.
No, I'm switching dimensions. So
Sorry.
the two is the mystery of it is that
Hmm.
within the mechanical day-to-day schedule, there's still romance, we call it, but that's the
Hmm.
mystery. The mystery is, even though we keep doing the same thing every day because that's our life, I still recognize it's all gift. It's all this
Hmm.
mysterious, we're still in love. We express it differently and we do different things than we did when we were first married or even a year ago.
Sure.
But that's the mystery of it, is you don't, again, you don't lean into the mystery. You acknowledge that you're wrapped up in mystery.
One of the
And
most mysterious weddings or marriages, I should say.
mhm.
I just encountered the other day because they said to me, I didn't know about this at all. Is Abraham's marriage to Keturah? You're like,
Yeah, right.
it's like, well, because you meet the children later.
It's such an afterthought though.
It's such an afterthought. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I know you don't want to overshadow Sarah. I got that. But
Hmm.
it's like, wait a minute, he had some more vitality left in
Right. Yeah.
because they had children. Midian is one of the children, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
I forgot that.
it seems to be a loving marriage. And who is it that had the one to keep his bed warm? Was that David?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
The
like
young virgins that he had to keep his bed warm, the young maidens. Yeah.
just right. I don't know if that's marriage, but but the Keturah
Luther's
one,
commentary on that is fantastic.
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Keturah, it's like it's obviously it's a loving relationship,
Hmm.
and she's probably quite a bit younger than him at that
Hmm.
point, right? Because she's fertile and whatnot.
Hmm.
It seems like, I mean, they have children. The children dwell in the land.
Grew up to hate their siblings like all the rest.
Well,
Yeah.
there is that part, yeah. But, no, yeah.
Some family dynamic.
Mysterious though is the point, right?
Yeah.
And Moses just lets it be mysterious when he
Yeah.
records it, right? It's just like, well, there's this whole other thing with Abraham, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
We'll meet them later.
We
Don't
were
worry.
talking about this, and this actually goes to what we were talking about off camera again, is that in the oral tradition, the ancient tradition of storytelling, you know the story before it's told. Like
Mm-hmm.
the whole, subverting expectations is a very postmodern innovation to
No.
say, well, it's really boring if, no, you don't understand is that the story is literally communicating the mystery. And you don't mess with the mystery because mystery is reality. It's the truest truth. Why would you try to subvert the truth to reassert a different truth? That would make it a lie.
Right. Yeah. It's so you have somebody like Moses
Hmm.
rebuking God and saying, no, you can't destroy everybody
Right.
and
It breaks
make a
the
nation out of
narrative.
me because it breaks this. You've already
Yeah.
told us how the story ends.
Right. You've made the promise. We
Yeah.
know the ending of the story.
Right. Right.
What are you doing?
And
Right.
God's like, oh, no, you're right.
Right. Exactly.
Thanks, Moses.
And so
Yeah.
we don't even, and goes back to the beginning conversation, is the reason that we lack anchorage in the church is because we've said of all of that, it's not relevant.
Hmm. Like sticking to the story.
Yeah. We got to subvert expectations. We got to preach the sermon backwards. We got to do something that's gospel-y, but also this.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a point, I mean, in a story to have that kind of like, what do they call it? The left turn or the gut wrenching moment, right? Or
Nope.
you don't think so?
Nope. It's not there. It's all front loaded. So, and so they don't have to explain themselves in third act and go like, who's this? They
Oh,
already front load that at the front end of it to say,
no, but I'm
just so
saying
you know, this is coming.
it doesn't seem like it's going to end that, but you know it is. Right? That kind of
Because
ending.
it's either true or it's not, and truth is
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
So if he is the greatest knight, despite the entire story being about failure, you know
Mm-hmm.
the ending is going to be,
Right. Right.
well, what is a great knight then? Because if this isn't great, what is
Right.
great? Well,
Right.
he's not godly yet. And he's
Yeah.
not godly because grace hasn't given him what he's told, this is your destiny.
So it's kind of like if it's a tragedy, it's like you're holding out hope, but you know,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's different ways that this is presented.
She has to kill her children. That's the only way the story ends,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
Likewise, if he descends into the underworld, there's only two options. It's either a tragedy because he doesn't get out, or it's a quote unquote comedy because he does get out.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't end differently. You're violating the truth. That's the whole purpose of the play. The story, if it's a good story, breaks spells. It literally says, here's the truth, and you're living in a lie. Let's break it.
So that is the postmodern story where it's like it's presented as a hero story, and it
Right.
turns out he's the
villain.
villain,
But he's still called a hero.
but he's called the hero.
Likewise, the truth is presented as a lie, and the lies are presented as truth, and yet in the end, they're still just lies.
But I mean, that is to, what do you want to say, teach nihilism, I think?
Yes, of course it is. Because mystery gets rid of nihilism, because it says, no, there's higher meaning to everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you don't say things like, well, Jesus died and he didn't really rise from the dead. It was more like his spirit left his body and appeared as if he were still. Well, then the creed's a lie. I believe in the resurrection of the body and life everlasting. But it also means then that what's the point of me doing anything in
If
this
Jesus
life?
didn't die and rise, then nobody else did either.
Correct. Well, and if he just rose spiritually, like the Gnostics argued, what is the use of my body? What's the purpose of my flesh? We're all Gnostics at heart because we all hate our bodies. We hate being mortal.
Tell
And
me
we're
about
all
it.
looking for an out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why reincarnation was so popular, because your soul leaves your body and goes into something better, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Now, do
And
we like
also
it?
it gives you motivation to not be a jerk. Because
We hate that it was just a dream ending. Yeah, I suppose
Mhm.
we do hate those. I liked Inception though,
Mhm.
but that wasn't subversion.
Actually, that was in its own way trying to find the one true name.
Uh-huh.
We have to find his true name so we can get in the safe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
his true name is in the safe. That's the inversion. That's the inception point.
Yeah.
It's like we have to keep going deeper and deeper until we find the one true name.
And I don't think Nolan's a subversive storyteller. I mean, he's just
Hmm.
maybe it's
He's just modern.
he's just modern. Yeah.
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 That's why the Odyssey in the end will disappoint everyone.
Oh gosh, I do not hold out hope.
Well, because you can't. You either have to accept the rules of the story as they were originally
Do you think it's
told.
possible that he just does it? Because he kind of did with where he just told the story.
Dunkirk?
Was Dunkirk? Yeah, it's just the story,
Hmm.
or all the little stories, or some of the
Mhm.
little stories.
We'll see. Dunkirk's a modern story, though. The Odyssey is an
It's a
ancient
modern
story.
event. Yeah.
Right. And so it doesn't follow necessarily the same
Mm.
rules as what Homer would exercise.
Well, will he follow Homer's rules? That's the question.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Huh.
Yeah.
Can he do that?
Yeah. Because if he doesn't, it will fall apart.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, we've already had the best Odyssey movie we ever needed.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was that?
What, Jason and the Argonauts?
No, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, yeah.
We don't need another one. We already had it.
That's fair.
Even with the Cyclops, it was great.
That's fair. Yeah, the Coens actually are a great storytelling duo because they actually respect the myths.
I think so. I mean, Hudsucker Proxy is a great example of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Where it's like, you think it's going to be like this like postmodern thing, and it's all, and it's just like, no, it's a fairy tale. It's just,
Right.
rags to riches or whatever. These kind of, you just fall into the trope and just do it,
Yeah.
right? Just make it, and let it be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what happens? Well, the more lucidly we think, The more we're cut off, the more deeply we enter into the reality of it, the less we can think. You can't study pleasure in the moment of nuptial embrace. You can't talk about the pain of a toothache while you're in the midst of a toothache. But once it stops, what do you know about pain, right? So of this tragic dilemma, myth is the partial solution. If in the enjoyment of a great myth, we come nearest to experiencing as a concrete what can otherwise be understood only as an abstraction. At this moment, for example, I am trying to understand something very abstract indeed. The fading, vanishing of tasted reality as we try to grasp it with the discursive reason. Probably I have made heavy weather of it, but if I remind you, instead of Orpheus and Eurydice, how he was suffered to lead her by the hand, but when he turned around to look at her, she disappeared. That's an old story.
That's the story, yeah.
Yeah, it's an old story that predates Orpheus and Eurydice. She disappeared. What was merely a principle becomes imaginable. You may reply that you never till this moment attached that meaning, quote unquote meaning, to that myth. Of course not. You are not looking for an abstract meaning at all. If that was what you were doing, the myth would be for you no true myth, but a mere allegory, a shadow of the thing. You were not knowing, but tasting. But what you were tasting turns out to be a universal principle. Yeah, the true is truth. The moment we state this principle, we are admittedly back in the world of abstraction. It is only while receiving the myth as a story that you experience the principle concretely. When we translate, we get abstraction, or rather dozens of abstractions. Unpack that for me, as the postmodern says. Unpack that for me. What flows into you from the myth is not truth, but reality. Truth is always about something, but reality is that about which truth is. It's a complicated way of saying it.
It is, but he's very British.
Yes.
Sentence construction.
I'm saying truth is myth. Myth is communicating truth. He's saying the truth is always about something, but reality is about what the truth is about. So the myth is communication of the truth. I think we're saying the same thing.
I think you're saying the same thing. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think, but I'm too dumb to understand his language here.
Well, he's saying, I think he's using truth not in the sense of like true as true, but in the sense of factual truth here in this sentence. And so that reality is the truest truth.
Right. And then myth is the communication of that reality.
Correct.
In story form.
Correct. Yeah.
So therefore, every myth becomes the father of innumerable truths on the abstract level. Myth is the mountain whence all the different streams arise, which becomes truth down here in the valley. Okay. In hoc valley abstractionist, or if you prefer, myth is the isthmus, which connects the peninsular world of thought with the vast continent we really belong to. It is not, like truth, abstract, nor is it like direct experience bound to the particular.
Yeah, so our experience often tells us there's something bigger.
This is Joseph Campbell's myth, Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Yep, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, something like that. Although, I mean, obviously Lewis is speaking as a Christian here.
Yeah.
You know, is that our what do we say? We have all these little tastes or experiences or encounters that reveal that there's something more.
Right.
But it's like mirror dimly kind of talk, right?
Right.
That's not abstraction. Mirror dimly isn't an abstraction. It just means it's veiled of a sort.
But even preaching then is an abstraction.
Can be.
Because ultimately it's a story about Jesus. And in the telling of this is Jesus and this is what he did and this is how he died and this is what happened after that. And then we preach on that, we're abstracting it.
Yeah, I don't know how sacramental Lewis is, but that would be that's where
that's Leia's point, that the sermon is the incomplete word of God because it's mixed with my words, human words.
Right.
Whereas the words of institution are the perfect word of God because they're undiluted with my words.
Yeah.
So this is why you and I get upset when pastors provide commentary for everything.
Right.
It's like you're freezing my mind by telling me the one true meaning of something.
So when I read this reading, I want you to think about this.
Yes, 100%.
And then I read it, and it's like, well, that's all you're going to think about that.
You've frozen it. This is why I say get a black Sharpie and cross out the subheadings in your Bible.
But I would say even, I mean, at least experientially, and maybe this is because of the reality of it, is that preaching isn't received universally by everyone that you speak to.
Well, that's That's the mystical part of it, that
Yeah.
only the Holy Spirit can control the hearing of
We've
it.
talked we've talked about those responses. People walk out the door, some are
Yeah,
smiling, some are angry, some
right.
are neutral, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, or apathetic or
Yeah,
whatever. I mean, and that's so far out of our control, no matter
right,
how much we try to control that, because we
right.
do.
On the
uh,
vocational side, for
yeah,
sure.
on the
Yeah.
vocational side. I mean, and I said this the other day. I said, um, as much as I don't want to be tone policed, as they call it,
Mm-hmm.
there is, I mean, vocation, like you say, that is an aspect of communication.
It is a craft.
Yeah, it's part of the
You take it
craft.
serious.
Yeah, and so that your tone, your inflection, your even your body language.
Well, and I was just saying to a friend of ours, and I was saying to a couple of people, you have to be a pastor in a congregation long enough for them to give you their language. That's number one. The
Mm-hmm.
congregation has to say, "Hey, pastor, this is how we talk. This is how you're going to talk to us." So let's say I do a conference at a college, and I know that majority of the crowd are academics. Their language is different than the language of my congregation,
Right.
which is blue collar and working class. Now, I can use the language of my congregation to communicate with academics, but I cannot use the language of academics to communicate with my congregation.
Right. Right.
I know this
Oh
experientially.
yes, of course.
So, and that is you have to be given, you have to be bequeathed the language. And then secondly, you have to be in that congregation long enough for them to trust you. That what you're saying isn't only just their words in the sense of these are our colloquialisms, our idioms, and so on, but we believe what you're saying is actually more than just our language. It's communicating God
Mm-hmm.
and the truth of everything to us in our language.
Yeah, and I don't think you can break that down in a kind of, you know, just like order. Like here's step one, step
Well,
two,
that's
step
all
three.
theory at that point.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
don't
that
think you can
is.
theorize how this actually
Two,
works.
in most churches, 1 + 1 is 3.
Well, there's that too.
That's the math of it, right?
Yeah.
And in the gospel, there's no math. There's just no math to speak of, anyways.
I think it
That's the
works the other
mystery
way
of it.
direction too, though, is that the hearers become able to hear the preacher
Right. Well, that's my
over
point. In
time.
the craft side of things, you have
Mm-hmm.
to learn how they speak. They have to give you the language. You can't just take it
Mm-hmm.
because that's violent. And then you're a carpetbagger. You're performing. And
Right.
we've all been there, again, wearing the mask, riding someone else's horse.
Mm-hmm.
We've done
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And it's never been a living word. This is why, like, sermon series that are published are dead words, because a sermon is, by its very nature and definition, a oral delivery in the present tense to a particular person or people.
They're not
This
even easily rewritten for that
No.
for you. I mean,
Well,
for
it's
me.
all recitation, and recitation isn't storytelling. It's not preaching. Preaching is imagination. It's
Mm-hmm.
imagining. That's what, again, the path of the Holy Spirit, the imagining of the sermon, for example, is inspired by the Holy Spirit. This is the word of the Lord that came to me, that you might believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name.
Right.
When I start my sermon, that's not a joke. That is, hey, here's the preview. Also, here's my resume. This
Right.
isn't my words. This is the Holy Spirit
And you're
saying, Donovan, this is how you're going to say this.
so what I was saying before,
Hmm.
from Tolkien. I mean, you're a sub-creator.
Right. This
You're
is Nagel's.
subordinate.
You have to become a grasshopper to learn the language in order to preach to grasshoppers.
Hmm.
You can't use human speech to talk to a grasshopper. This is why your animals get frustrated with you when you don't speak their language. You're like, what are you, dumb? Like, how do you not understand what I need? Well, I don't speak cat or dog. I don't speak parakeet.
You
That's the
can't. Nobody
conflict.
nobody understands cats. I
That's fair.
would just be honest about that.
Right.
They're
100%.
incomprehensible.
Right. Well, yeah. They are a mystery. This is why the Egyptians thought that they were the entities that carried messages back and forth from the other world to this world, because they're inscrutable. And so what ends up happening is, once you, like, to Lewis's point with Quirinius, is when you get rid of that, again, you lose your anchorage, you get
Mm-hmm.
unstuck from the anchor who is Christ,
Right.
and something's going to come in and fill that space.
Yeah. This is why I don't think the argument that you get from some libertarians, but we heard it from Dawkins, right? Saying like he's made the same kind of argument. Like we
Mhm.
read the Quirinius guy said, like we need to retain all of the accoutrement, even if
Right.
we don't have the substance.
Right.
As long as we continue to act like Christians.
Here's what's funny about that. I was thinking about this last week because we had this conversation, an aside, kind of, not us, but the
Mm-hmm,
class I was
mm-hmm.
in, is that there are many scholars and historians, by the way, who believe that the Parsifal Grail legend is actually the founding story of Western civilization, as we understand it. Because everything in that story literally takes over the culture and the theology and the politics of the Middle Ages. It's always there. It influences the 1500s, the 1600s, all the way to the present tense. It's that influential. So really what he's arguing for, without arguing for it because he's wrong, he means the moral principles that
Yes,
Christianity
that's
brings
exactly
to
what
the
he
table.
means. Yep.
Which you can just say the same thing. We need a we need to bring back the Muslim civilization, the good old days
I mean,
of the caliphates, or the Jewish civilization.
but by extension, then, that would mean that even the law of God is incomprehensible apart from Christ.
Right. Well, in the small called articles, as we read, it's called the failed use of the law
Right.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't curb or restrain because we're constantly breaking it.
Hmm.
But yet, what his argument is not Christian, but rather religious. That
Not
is
even
the
simply that it
law.
doesn't. The small called isn't just saying that it doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
like in a mechanical way,
Right.
but
No,
that
in,
it's
in actual practice.
because
That's
it's
why you roll-
because
that's why
it's
you drive-
faithless, right?
Well, you drive through stop signs. Why? Because no one was coming. So why should I stop?
Yeah.
Well, if I can lie on my taxes, I mean, it's not really just to tax me anyways. So if I can get away with it,
Well, you're a master justifier there,
Right.
self-justifier.
well, exactly. I am the old Adam. But that's the point, is that what he's arguing for, Dawkins, isn't actually religion. It's the original sin, that is to be like God, knowing good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually advocating for the old Adam's religion, which is the religion of sin and death and worldliness, not Christianity. Because if it were true Christianity, it would literally be the Last Supper, the cup,
Right.
out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, civil government never saved you.
No.
It never will.
So until the president or the prime minister or the caliph, whoever, lifts the cup of Christ and says, I am the keeper of the grail. Here's the blood that heals the wounds of the earth and heals all human beings. It's not Christian.
How
the-
often do you think that the monarch of England goes to the sacrament now?
Only for public appearances. Yes.
I think you're right. It's so
Right.
sad, but
But
I mean,
even amongst tyrants in the Middle Ages, they still went to the Mass.
yes.
They still received the cup.
Mhm.
Say what you will. But the point is, all of medieval society, this is the breach between Tolkien and Lewis that he talks about in
think so.
Discarded Images.
Yeah, yeah.
For Tolkien, he recognizes the chalice is the foundation of all medieval life, from the crown to the Pope to the common person.
And Lewis is too much of a Protestant for that.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, again, as an Anglican, he abstracts it because it's a spiritual, not a
Even though he's
physical.
arguing against that here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. Isn't that great?
Right. Well,
But
that's
think
why,
about that,
yeah.
is that Western civilization is actually built on the Last Supper. That's what it's built on.
Well, the church is too, for
That's
sure.
the only point, though. Everything's downstream from the church.
Right.
Everything's downstream from Christ.
Right.
So then, to truly to say that, and then the truth of it would be to say, well, we can't restore Western civilization until everyone's at the sacrament on Sundays, because that will heal you. That will give you true faith and love for your neighbor, as we
Yeah.
pray in the post-communion collect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same truth to a congregation that's in disarray.
Which, by the way, is how you never get invited on another talk show.
Yeah. Let's all go to the altar.
That
Yeah.
book doesn't sell.
No, because it's,
And yet that's the pattern in Israel. Read the Old Testament. That's the
Mhm.
pattern.
no,
Return
they
to the
celebrate the
altar.
Passover again after they forgot to for a very long
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yes, Lewis is arguing that's the point, is that the myths that break into, thousands of stories, they're all stories that communicate the same reality, though, the same truth. This is why moderns get upset, because I didn't really know about this argument until I listened to it recently again. But like, there's a lot of modern theologians and scholars that get mad about, it's called the seed principle. That is, the logos was always in every place, hidden, until the evangelist showed up and went, that's the thing. So for example, I tell the story of the Druids, like Drew from door, the oak tree is the door. And then the evangelist went, hey, I know who the door is.
He has a name. Yeah.
He has a name. And how these Druids converted and became priests themselves because of that. Because the evangelist didn't say, hey, by the way, we got to cut that tree down, Boniface, because it's pagan. They went, oh, you guys are you're dancing around the door. Let me open it for you and show you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they evangelized. And then you get to Scandinavia and you're like, oh, Odin crucified himself. What was the date? What time did it happen? And they're like, well, it didn't happen according to any date or time. Hey, my God was crucified, and he has a date and a time for his crucifixion, which makes it real, whereas yours isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is, again, the scandal of Christianity in relation to the other gods is we're the only religion that says it actually happened on a day and a time historically. Everything else is outside of time. That's why all myths are in search of the one true myth, because the one true myth is actually historical. He has an address.
Yeah, and I know there's probably still folks that are confused on the, the term myth means not real, in the modern sense.
Yeah.
And that's not how Lewis is using it. Or
No.
he's arguing that myths must be real.
Or Chesterton, or anybody before 300 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if myths aren't real, then they wouldn't be held on to.
Again, the way I was taught it was this way, that a folk tale is the truth presented and applied to daily life. That is, why do we have to take care of the chickens? Why do we have to wash clothes?
Yeah.
Why
I mean, there wasn't a tortoise and a hare that went on a race.
Right. But yet, if you watch a tortoise and then you watch a hare, you go, oh, well, if these two raced, this would actually communicate, this is the truth of things, right?
Yeah, but that's a fable.
And so, that's a whole other thing. Read on fairy stories by Lewis. Whereas a myth is life, the universe, and everything. These are the big overarching narratives. And the side project of modernity has been, since Carl Jung, this is all psychology. Again, inside out. These aren't stories they're not words that are alive. A living thing.
They make you feel better.
Well, they express your consciousness. They express your intellect so that you can change reality.
So that not just even to help you understand yourself, but to actually change.
For Joseph Campbell, who's a Jungian, the story of Parzival ultimately is to explain your psychosis and your psychology and your neuroses so that you can free yourself to live a full life as the person you are always supposed to be.
To be like God, knowing good and evil.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas, no, Wolfram von Eschenbach in the 1200s is saying, this is objective reality set within this story that you can understand, because all these characters are what we call archetypes in the modern sense. But these are all, we all know who the trickster is in this story, and we know who this character is and who that character, we know who these are, because as we noted, if you read Orpheus and Eurydice, you go, isn't this Lot and his wife? Yeah, it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, right.
It's just the Greek telling of Lot and his wife.
Yeah, so, instead of disappearing pillar of salt.
So what you would do then, like Paul does, is you would tell the story of Orpheus and Eurydice to Greeks and say, this story actually comes from a much more ancient story. So you'll probably recognize it when I tell it.
And it's like the older magic. Yeah.
Or you would tell the story of Lot and even his daughters, and they would say, well, that sounds an awful lot like Orpheus and Eurydice. And you go, it is, because it's the same story. And Orpheus and Eurydice are actually telling you something very deep and true, which is there's somebody who gave, this story is ancient, which means there's something going on here. And you would actually use the story of Orpheus and Eurydice as an apologetic, lead them back to God's word, Lot and his wife and his daughters, and then lead them back to the root, the tree, the one true tree, the top of the mountain, so to speak.
Right.
They used to, again, this used to be implicit. This was obvious. And then we said, well, no, Orpheus and Eurydice has nothing to do with Lot and his wife. How dare you say that?
Right. So I
understand. Well, is he all in all or not? Do we live and move and have our being in him, or don't?
I understand, not wanting to flatten things out and saying it's all the same story. I mean, which is what you said, but
arbitrary.
But not in the sense of like it only happened once and it just goes by different names, or the man with 1,000 faces, right?
Right.
It's not again,
that. He's saying that our minds are kind of, evolution wired our minds to think, to find patterns to explain the universe, basically to give order to the chaos.
Right.
That is, when you look into the abyss, it freaks you out. So you're like, oh, well, maybe the abyss isn't bad if we just change this to that and just say he's a misunderstood, or he's got trauma. So he's not really evil. He's just misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, versus the abyss is like, I'm going to swallow you now because I'm a dragon.
Well, and that's the key. I mean, we're doing theology of the cross. Well, Heidelberg first. We'll get to the theses on that. But calling a thing what it is what a true myth does.
Right.
Rather than trying to abstract away.
Right.
Your pain is just trauma. And you're like, no, it's real. Right.
It's just pain.
It's just,
and it's not trauma yet. Just wait.
Trauma. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do this abstraction necessarily to avoid the reality.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not the kind of storytelling he's talking about here. He's talking about people in pursuit of the truth.
Right. Well, but again, it's two directions. One's objective, one's subjective. One's inside out, the other one's outside in.
Yeah.
So it's just a completely different way of actually interacting with reality.
Right. So when he's talking about the peninsular world of thought,
Yeah.
I mean, this is like seeking to go up and out rather
Hmm.
than to drive further in.
Down and
I mean,
in. Yeah.
frankly, I mean, even from the scripture standpoint, it doesn't have to say that much about the human nature and sin,
Hmm.
right? There's plenty of stories that can expose it if you'd like, but like Romans, Paul obviously talking to Greeks had to speak a little bit differently,
Yeah.
right? Or Romans there in
Well,
that
even
case.
in Greek, the language is different.
Well, there's that, but he's just like, okay, here's the litany. The Bible's
Hmm.
been revealing to you the condition of your heart for a very long time,
Right.
right? And you already knew it anyway
Hmm.
because all of your stories teach the same
Yeah.
thing. this
Right.
is not. This is not. So the necessity to reveal the character, the human character,
Right.
is far less. But to reveal God's character,
Right.
that's where the myth. I mean,
Right.
that's really the mythology.
Well, here's a practical example of how this plays out in the present tense. Anybody who watched the Olympic opening ceremony knows that was the Last Supper.
Oh, the one in Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that's the Last Supper.
with
Pajot
the
did a whole thing on
with the
this.
lady with the crown and all
Yeah,
that.
of course. We
Yeah.
knew
Okay.
that. And then they said, well, no, it's not the Last Supper. It's Dionysius. Well, guess what? Dionysius got it from Christ.
Right.
One myth comes after the other
Sure.
in that sense. And so even though you're trying to explain it away, even though originally it's literally called the Last Supper, the guy who put on the whole thing called it that in originally. And then
And it was meant to be subversive.
yeah,
And blah,
right,
blah,
of
blah.
course.
Yeah.
Of course it is. They're French. And yet that's literally the definition of gaslighting then, psychologically speaking, which is nobody would look at that and not, and even if you're not Christian, go, that looks like the painting of the Last Supper, that famous painting of the Last Supper. And everyone's like, yeah, that's the Last Supper, obviously. And they're like, no, it's not. Why? Well, because the church got mad at them. But again, there it is of like, we have no respect for the church. It has no authority. But if they get upset and say something, we will backpedal. Well, where's that come from then? Well, there it is. Again, the patterns are there. Reality is there impinging upon you. And so you can call it what you want, but the fact of the matter is there's a story there and you can't break it. You can't
Right.
break it no matter how you try. Because the Last Supper is the foundation of all reality.
No. You don't need Da Vinci to know that.
Right, exactly. So the moment then, where are we at here? Eurydice,
We're right there.
meaning,
Myth is the mountain where all the different streams. We did the peninsular world of
we
thought.
did that, direct experience bound to the
I
particular.
think it's now as myth transcends
Yeah, okay,
thought.
there we
That's
go.
where we are.
Now as myth transcends thought, that is, you can't, again, think it through. You can't categorize it and calculate it. Incarnation transcends myth. Ooh.
Huh.
The heart of Christianity is a myth, which is also a fact. Well, it's historical. The old myth of the dying God, without ceasing to be myth, comes down from the heaven of legend and imagination to the earth of history. This is what I was getting at is all the other myths and legends that sound like the Christian myth. They sound that way because they worship the hidden God.
Mm-hmm.
Again, even the demons are creatures that are forced to worship God.
Yeah.
They have no choice.
Yeah, they're seeking understanding.
Right. So when you encounter another religion, you don't immediately go, bullshit. It's all lies and it has no relationship whatever.
You're
to
crazy. How can you believe all
Yeah.
this stuff? Yeah.
Versus if you just listen and you can go, oh no, that's our God. But hey, let me
Right.
reveal the truth to you. You're close to the kingdom, or maybe you're a couple steps away or miles away. Let me tell you the truth. Whereas
even-
the Enlightenment said, we're all climbing the same mountain. And when we get to the top, we'll discover that all of our different names for God were the same God.
No, I mean, one aspect of that, though,
Mm-hmm.
is that, I mean, the notion of transcendence,
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
It's just the means and the way that God provides that for us.
Right.
Like he transcends us and they want
Right.
to transcend themselves.
Well, that's why, like Spinoza said, we have to go up. We're all going up the same mountain. We're all climbing the same mountain. Whereas Christianity says God came down the mountain.
Right. He brought
came into the
heaven to
valley.
earth. Yeah.
Right. And again, the symbolism of just that statement, we're climbing the mountain. It's like, which mountain? Well, ultimately, it's the mountain of God. It's Zion.
Right.
But when we get to the top, it won't be Jesus. It'll just be generic God with different names.
Yeah.
Versus we argue, well, he came down into the valley with a actual name. He was actually born and actually died. He has an address. He ascended bodily into heaven and will return bodily with saints and angels to catch us up into the air and raise us from the dead and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly trying to get up away from our bodies, away from our mortality, away from this world, And then he plunges down into it, which is so offensive, obviously, then,
Right.
that we just go, you know what? I don't like this story. Let's get rid of it.
Right. Right.
This is
So
why
yeah. Our transcendence is by means of his descent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
His
Right.
humiliation.
Yeah, it's like we're passing each other in the hallway. It's like handoff. And so not only does myth transcend thought, incarnation transcends myth. So we go up the hierarchy. So the heart of Christianity is a myth, which is also a fact. The old myth of the dying God, without ceasing to be myth, truth, comes down from the heaven of legend and imagination to the earth of history. It happens at a particular date in a particular place, followed by definable historical consequences. We pass from a Balder or an Osiris, dying nobody knows when or where, to a historical person crucified. It is all in order under Pontius Pilate. By becoming fact, it does not cease to be myth. That's the miracle. I suspect that men have sometimes derived more spiritual sustenance from myths they did not believe than from the religion they professed. Exactly. To be truly Christian, we must both assent to the historical fact and also receive the myth. Fact, though, it has become, with the same imaginative embrace which we accord to all myths. The one is hardly more necessary than the other. A man who disbelieved the Christian story as fact, but continually fed on it as myth, would perhaps be more spiritually alive than one who assented and did not think much about it. The modernist, the extreme modernist, infidel in all but name, need not be called a fool or hypocrite because he obstinately retains, even in the midst of his intellectual atheism, the language, well, this is Dawkins, the language,
Right.
rites, sacraments, and story of the Christians. Dawkins goes to church every Sunday for the liturgy. He
Right.
says so. He likes being part of something ancient that's bigger than himself.
I would say gives him order and structure.
Yeah. It would have been better that Loisy?
Oh, you missed the previous sentence.
Oh, did I?
The
Okay.
poor man may be.
Oh, the poor man may be clinging with a wisdom he himself by no means understands to that which is his life. It would have been better that Loisy should have remained a Christian. It would not necessarily have been better that he should purged his thought of vestigial Christianity. Those who do not know that this great myth became fact when the Virgin conceived are indeed to be pitied. But Christians also need to be reminded, we may thank Quirinius for reminding us, that what became fact was a myth, that it carries with it into the world of fact all the properties of a myth. God is more than a little g God, not less. Christ is more than Balder, not less. We must not be ashamed of the mythical radiance resting on our theology. We must not be nervous about quote-unquote parallels and pagan Christs. They ought to be there. It would be a stumbling block if they weren't. So good. Yeah, we must not, in false spirituality, withhold our imaginative welcome. If God chooses to be mythopoeic, it is not the sky itself, and is not the sky itself a myth. Should we refuse to be mythopathic? For this is the marriage of heaven and earth, perfect myth and perfect fact, claiming not only our love and our obedience, but also our wonder and delight, addressed to the savage, the child, and the poet, and each one of us, no less than to the moralist, the scholar, and the philosopher.
Yeah, so there's his punchline at the end. He does that, doesn't he? We've seen this
he does.
before.
He's good at it.
He'll hold everything and then he finally just drops it at the end. You know,
Yes.
the myth became fact is that it doesn't exclude anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's the truest truth for everyone, be it the moralist, the scholar, philosopher, or the child, the poet, and the savage. Right, and I would argue we're probably all a bit of both. Right, I mean it's not like we're one or the other. Is anyone truly an intellectual atheist in every domain of life? Probably not. And I can't imagine that they hold that kind of rigor to apply atheism to every aspect. Because we've seen this, right? Because they will hold to some higher moral standard in some aspect of their life.
Well, atheists are alchemists too.
Yeah, we got
That's
that in the
thing.
chat.
They are mystics in and of themselves.
I think Chad said that in the chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did say that. Where was that? It was talking
Well,
about
no,
some kind of alchemy.
atheists are alchemists.
Hmm.
They're constantly trying to figure out different ways to change lead into gold.
So change what? The
Again,
truth into...
psychology is mysticism. It's not grounded in any actual facts. It's all theory.
But it is a faith.
It's spiritualism without the spirit. It's
A different
denying
spirit.
spirits,
It's a different
but
spirit.
it's spiritualism.
Yeah.
Because everything they say is spiritualism. They just use the nous as the spiritual part. But it's all mystical. There's nothing scientific about it.
You don't think so?
No.
It's observational, though.
Not psychology. Well, yeah, but again, then you're dealing with the mystery of human nature.
Right.
And trying to categorize it. This is why the one size fits all doesn't work anymore. Thank God. In
So
medicine.
this is why the moralist can't exist apart from the savage, right? Or the child or the poet. Because otherwise the moralism becomes nonsensical, I guess. Oh, yeah, he says, was it Chad or was it Adam? Yeah, it's Chad. That Jung glommed onto alchemical language, self-transformation.
And was a mystic.
Yeah. It was just a few chats ago. I scrolled too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mythopoeia comes from Hellenistic Greek, meaning myth-making, as an alternative is mythopoesis, of a similar meaning. The definition of mythopoeia is a creating of myth, first recorded from 1846.
So the Greeks definitely thought of their myths as being divinely given, but they weren't like the invention of, the thoughts and intents of the hearts of man.
Yeah. The muses.
Right. Right. So there was a divine giving.
Yeah. Christian Bertois, the original author of Parsifal and the Grail legend, when asked, where'd you get this from? He goes, I don't know. It just kept coming. So I never finished it.
Well, we've even described our preaching sometimes that way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really sure where that came from, but it came.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, we're trying to be humble. It's really, we'll acknowledge it's the Spirit's working.
Well, again, that's the thing that upsets some modern scholars and theologians, is to argue that the Holy Spirit's working outside the faith, so to speak, hidden.
Oh, I see.
That.
Well, we even argue about it happening within the faith, like, because we don't want to become Pentecostals, we say.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But especially outside, it's like, and what's one of the aspects that you can use to rebut that? Well, is Jesus the Lord of all things, heaven and earth?
Right.
Did he create all things?
And like I said, is he all in all? Do we live and move and have our being in him? Is he the logos through which everything is created? Well, either John's lying.
Right. That's not just Greek thought, or
but
Eastern
to your
thought.
point, though, by John saying that the logos became flesh, he is undercutting Plato, because that's straight up. You read the Timaeus,
right.
which everybody should, because it's just weird and fun. But the logos is it's reality. It's the essential glue that holds the meaning of the universe and everything together. And for John to say, oh, by the way, the logos that Plato teaches on, he's 99% right.
Not a random abstraction, though.
Right, exactly.
It's a person.
Yeah, it's a person, which would have been mind-blowing to a Greek, to a Gentile.
I think we missed that.
Mind-blowing.
I think we missed that, yeah.
Well, because we don't know. That's not our cosmology. It's not our world.
By the way...
I mean, it is. We accept Platonic philosophy. We just don't have words for it anymore.
As we were talking about before, I don't know, was it on the show? Maximus Confessor.
Yeah.
In his cosmology.
Yeah,
with his transfiguration picture. I mean, he says the transfiguration is what John is reflecting on in John 1, in part.
Yeah, sure.
Which is that when they are overwhelmed with the shining face of the Lord and his word, like, that's the moment when they begin to see what is true.
Right.
And John's confession there, is akin to Peter in 2 Peter, right? Or 1 Peter, sorry, 1 Peter. Was it 1 Peter or 2 Peter? We were on the mountain. Some word.
2 Peter.
2 Peter.
It's the
right.
reading, yeah.
Yeah, it's the reading. And so that John 1 is John's description of what he saw on the mountain, and how that comprehension, that knowledge, and that confession all is given to him in that moment.
Right.
I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure I'm completely with Maximus yet, but I'll get there someday maybe. Yeah.
So now to return to Chesterton at the end to bookend it.
Yeah.
Mysticism keeps men sane. Mystery keeps men sane, to use Lewis's language, because it is something from heaven came down and became fact. That is heaven and earth. And this is the thing that I've been talking about the past 2 weeks is the beginning of the Bible announces a marriage of heaven and earth. That's what Genesis 1 is. It's a marriage of heaven and earth. Then there's the marriage of God to man, and then man to woman. It's fat. It's pregnant with marriage imagery.
Right.
Genesis 1 and 2, it's inescapable. And even
It
Genesis
is.
3 then, which is the breach of that marriage, and therefore no child will be born. And then God weaponizing Eve's womb and saying, actually, rather than destroy her womb, I'm going to use it as a weapon against you, serpent. And then the rest of history is literally that. That's the fight, right? Is to destroy Eve's womb so that the Savior can't come. And so then, obviously, all the prophets use the image of marriage. Jesus, marriage, obviously, it shows
Front
up.
and center, yeah.
And so, same thing is the reason we have to destroy marriage or call it a civil union or call it an institution in a legal sense.
Or call things marriage that aren't.
Or call things marriage that aren't, is to ultimately divorce ourselves, no pun intended, from, again, the ultimate story, the true story of marriage, which is heaven and earth. And so when Jesus dies, and Paul says he does this to reconcile us to God, this is what's being reconciled. The marriage is being reconciled. That's the thing. And when you reject it, let alone ignore it or are naive to it, again, you go, it is like a married couple that live in the same house, but they have different bedrooms and they never
Right.
acknowledge that they're
Right.
married. They're still living together, but there's no acknowledgement that this is a marriage.
Although I do understand the old TV shows where they had separate bedrooms, you know, especially if one snores.
The older I get, the more I understand. 100%.
When I was younger, I'm like, why aren't they sleeping together? But
Now
yeah,
you're like, maybe they're on to
at
something.
least, and even separate beds, I kind of get,
Yeah.
even if it's in the same room.
100%. The older I get, the more childish I become. I'm like, can we get bunk beds? Let's get bunk beds.
Or at least a big enough bed that we can stay apart.
100%. Two posturepedics, right?
Yeah.
But if mystery is what keeps us sane,
Hmm.
and there's no mystery, well, that's why we as a civilization have become insane. We're unstuck from reality. And now that reality is snapping back on us, the world is waking up. Because as I said to you, you have to be shown the monsters before you believe they're real.
Yeah.
But then once you believe they're real, you ask, who the hell let these monsters in?
Right.
You did, and your parents did,
Yeah.
and you normalized it.
Yeah. And the lack of myth is one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, I think treating the faith, broadly speaking, but even, the confession of the faith as just a mere abstraction,
Yes.
as not actually being true,
Correct.
or if it's maybe factual but not true, right? To use his language
Maybe
here.
is the key word there. I don't think most people believe anything in the Bible actually happened. It's a story that's an interpretation of something that happened. But any rational adult knows manna didn't just appear on the ground.
I haven't had anybody so callous to say it that way, though. Not recently, anyway, in the church. But I mean, that's forbidden talk anyway, so
Right.
I shouldn't
I
expect
think
anybody
the
to
reason
say
it gets abstracted is because we've done so much to take God away from the earth and to say, like I talked about in Bible class and I got the questions about it, so I provided further clarification on my Facebook feed. The wind is the breath of God, and the breath of God is the Holy Spirit. That doesn't change the fact that wind is just wind. It's an air current. But God actually moves on the wind, as do the angels. That's said in the Bible, that the angels are these creatures that are carried on the wind.
And-
They are themselves wind.
Yeah, and you could hear the sound of them in the trees.
Yes, right. So then it's not that far then for a 6th century Irish monk to sit outside and say, listen to the Spirit move. And then the birds sing hymns to the Holy Spirit because they're in the trees and the Holy Spirit's kissing them and so on. And you
All
go,
creation proclaims the handiwork of
100%.
God. Yeah.
So
yeah.
then you read like Psalm 129, which is actually about the zodiac being like the thing that supports the throne of God, and it gets really wild. But that's my point is like you read that psalm and you go, well, this doesn't make any sense because we all know that this is all made up.
Yeah.
Well, actually, according to the psalmist, stars are creatures that have souls, and they're also stars simultaneously.
Somebody wrote an article and then ended up writing a whole book on this with Lewis, talking about Lewis patterning the books of Narnia around the seven planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember what the name of the book is. It was originally just an article in like Touchstone magazine, and
Okay.
then ended up getting expanded into a
Well,
book.
read the Paralandra trilogy.
Mm.
For even more of that.
So I mean, Lewis was willing to embrace that, even if.
Well, he's a medievalist. Of course, he
Yeah,
has to.
yeah.
Can't get away from it in the medieval. I mean,
But I mean, but
look
it
at
is,
liturgical calendars from the Middle Ages.
and I don't want to
Crazy.
say that he was not sacramental. I mean,
Well, he
as
was,
much as an
he's
Anglican is.
Anglican.
Yeah.
He's still sacramental. Obviously, it matters to him.
Right. Not in the
But
same
not in the way
ways.
Chesterton and Tolkien are.
Right.
Because they're Roman Catholic. Their entire piety is based on that.
Yeah. Even the adoration of the
Yeah, for sure.
of the host and the chalice. Yeah.
So as long as you have mystery, you have health. When you destroy mystery, you create morbidity.
You just kill it.
Like in 2 sentences, Chesterton's addressed and diagnosed everything about postmodernity.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that happening? Read this sentence. Well, why'd you do that? Read this sentence. The ordinary man has always been sane because the ordinary man has always been a mystic. That's a paradoxical statement because you could substitute the word sober for sane.
Yeah.
Thinking soberly, meaning, yeah, no, I'm not confused. I'm not delusional. I see things as they are. But simultaneously, I'm a mystic, meaning I see things that aren't there. In faith, I can see things that aren't there. So I can see the wind in actual fact moving through the trees, and I can see the Holy Spirit moving on the wind as actual fact because I have faith. To which an outsider would say, that's the dumbest thing I've heard this week, right? Well, again, that's a deep statement that he's making, that the ordinary man has always been sane and sober or sane, seeing things the way they are, because he's always been a mystic. That is, he understands there's a bigger reality here, the metaphysics of it. There's more than beyond our 5 senses, what they can grasp.
Yeah.
The same man that permits the twilight also has one foot on the earth and the other in fairyland, the other world. Well, I do. You can call it what you want, but I have one foot in this earth and one foot in the other world because I'm a Christian. Luther says that in his analogy of the Christian being the man on the roof,
Right.
reaching up towards heaven. And then, which is interesting, I didn't know this, but the medieval church saw the sun as the sun, right? S-U-N-S-O-N, Malachite language. But you know what the moon is then? It's the church.
Okay.
The moon was the church. So the lunar cycle is then a church cycle. Because that's how the Jews told time, was the lunar cycle.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about, well, what's the bridegroom bride? The sun and the moon are the marriage part, because that's in Genesis 1 too.
And that's also in the story of of Joseph.
Yes, it is.
Because the sun and the moon are his mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
As brothers of the other stars.
Yeah.
In that dream. Interesting. By the way, this quote from Chesterton is from Orthodoxy, from the second part called "The Maniac," which does describe you pretty effectively.
It does. There we go.
Yeah. So, but he talks about poetry in that section, and how the poets don't go mad, the scientists do. Yeah, I think we've seen that too. The rationalists, right? So this chapter is purely practical and is concerned with what actually is the chief mark and element of insanity. We may, in summary, that it is reason used without root, reason in the void. So that's the thesis here, is that without the myth, you can't even understand how you even think.
Check this out. Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton was first published in 1908, reprinted in 1908, 1909, 1911, 1915, 1919, 1921, 1924, 1926, published again in 1927, and reprinted in 1934. Kind of popular.
I forgot he had a whole thing on Grimm in here, in his chapter called "The Ethics of Elfland."
That's right.
There's a whole section on Grimm and Grimm's. They're not called Grimm's Law; they're called Grimm's Fairy Tales.
Yeah. Well, again, that's this and the book that I have, wherever that's at.
I just didn't know this was in Orthodoxy. For some reason, I didn't think his discussion.
What we're reading in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, we could do a whole series in this book.
Oh yeah, easily. Chesterton's gold.
It's just a terrible title. I wish it.
Yes, it is. You're right, 100%.
Because it's so misleading.
Well, if the original title were something like The Maniac and Elfland.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, then his chapter criticizing Nietzsche.
Yeah.
What's it called? The Eternal Revolution.
So good.
Okay. All right.
So, man has always permitted the twilight, always had one foot on earth and in fairyland. He has always left himself free to doubt his gods, but, unlike the agnostic of today, free also to believe in his gods. He has always cared more for truth than for consistency. That's interesting because the truth, I said it earlier, the truth is always consistent. Otherwise, it's not the truth.
Yeah, I think
He
we're
means
using those terms in different
He
ways.
means mathematical consistency. 2 plus
Right.
2 always equals
Right.
4.
Right.
Unless it's racist. Then it doesn't.
Racist math doesn't have
That's
to
right.
math.
Racist math doesn't have to add. So if he saw two truths that seem to contradict each other, he would take those two truths and the contradiction along with them and accept them as a whole. And so his spiritual sight is stereoscopic, which is a great word that we should bring back. Stereoscopic. Like his physical sight, too. So he doesn't just see with one eye, he sees with 2 eyes, 2 speakers. Stereo sound. He has stereo sight. Again, eye of wonder, eye of reason.
Yeah.
He sees 2 different pictures at once and yet sees all the better for that because he sees heaven and earth. Yeah. Thus, he has always believed that there was such a thing as fate, but such a thing as free will also. That's every sentence is a whole thought. I mean, that's a whole class lecture. Is every
It
sentence
is.
in here?
Yeah, and I mean, I like brevity, but I also like density, right? And
This
really-
is like you could, like, honest to God, I think you could do like 5 or 6 Bible classes on this one paragraph.
right, exactly. Maybe need to.
I guess. But no, this is why, by the way, I recommend Chesterton to theologians and Lewis to laity
Yeah, of course.
because of the density. They're saying similar things. It's just that the way Lewis writes is a lot lighter touch.
Well, especially today. I mean, I think,
yeah,
I mean, if you look at the kind of things that people were reading at the time of Chesterton writing, you know, the general literacy was higher,
right.
right? And it does seem to be devolving, you know, throughout the two wars.
I have the statistics right here if you want to know. I saved it. It's from the Atlantic.
Uh-huh.
If you read a book in 2025,
Oh, I
just
know.
one book, you belong to an endangered species. Like honeybees and red wolves, the population of American readers, Lector Americanus, has been declining for decades. Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent survey of public participation in the arts from 2022 found that fewer than half of Americans had read a single book in the previous 12 months. Only 38% had read a novel or short story. A recent study from the University of Florida and University College London found that the number of Americans who engage in daily reading for pleasure fell 3% each year from 2003 to 2023. So you do the math.
That means
3
there's none
times 20.
left. There's basically none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you come into church where we read everything.
Mm-hmm. We expect you to read.
Which, by the way, I was reading a quick article on Substack. This is why American cinemas are dying, is because nobody has the attention span for a movie. It's not just that they're bad movies or whatever.
The clips were being shared pretty widely from Rogan when Affleck was on there.
Okay, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, and he was talking about trying to produce something for Netflix. Netflix requires you to reiterate the point at least 3 to 4 times.
Right.
Because they assume you're on your phone.
Yeah, sure.
So we were talking about the slow burn shows. I mean,
yeah,
they're not they're not cell phone shows.
Oh, can you imagine being on your phone during dark? And just it's in
I
German.
can.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it wouldn't work, especially if you're gonna not have the
You're like,
overdubs.
wait a minute, are we in the 1950s? What? I thought we were just in the 1980s. What?
Yeah, it's
Who
a
is
very
that?
visual show. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it is. Especially if if it's in German. We're watching it in German. You're like, you better pay attention because things are going to fly by.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other point too, since we brought it up, is the purpose of storytelling, or as I say, I preach the same sermon every week. It's just the reading that changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean about in the oral tradition, in the ancient tradition, you tell the same story. The characters may change. The setting may be Greece or Sweden or Africa, Algiers, but the story has to be the same because that's the key part, the true part. And a good storyteller in the pre-modern world was, hey, every time he tells that story, it's same highlights, but again, in the imagining of the story, certain details will fall away and some will present themselves, but the core will remain the same. The queen will get married for love. The child will be a great knight. The failure will lead to the grail. It doesn't matter who's telling the story or in what culture it's being told, you have to hit those wave caps because that's the skeletal structure of the story.
It could be on an island in Maine, or it could be a
Yeah,
hotel in Budapest, or it could
well,
be
like
on
you
a
said, "O
train
brother, where
to
art thou?" is
right.
the Odyssey.
It-
If you've read the Odyssey,
more or
and then
less, yes.
and you watch it, you're like, "Oh, okay, they're riffing, got it."
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
imagining.
Yeah.
The problem with modern quote unquote reimagining is they're not reimagining, they're subverting and calling it reimagining.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing with
We're
the brother,
reimagining this, so instead of a male, it's a female.
right? But it still has to hit the same main points.
Right.
And
Otherwise, it falls apart.
and it may fall apart anyway because it may be particularly, a masculine, story,
Right.
male virtue or something
of
like
course.
that.
Well, again, the medieval chivalric way is different than the medieval feminine way, and
right.
what's laid out for women. And again, they understand there's a hierarchy. They understand there's objective reality. They understand that God has ordered it this way for a higher purpose. And really, then the purpose of life is in prayer, because storytelling is actually a form of prayer, as preaching is a form of prayer. Could you please tell us the truth? Reveal the truth to us, as Lewis talks about, so that all these stories make sense.
Right.
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 If I'm not a Christian, I can't actually spend hours expositing Die Hard as a Christian story, right?
And even so, you might question the wisdom of doing so, but
It's for entertainment purposes
it is.
only. But my point is that
Not investing in
no
money.
non-Christian is going to look at Die Hard and say, well, that's Satan, that's Jesus, this is a quote from the Bible, this is obviously the, blah, blah. Like, you can't do, but other religions can do that with me.
Right.
That's the thing. I can sit with a Navajo, and I can sit with a Buddhist, and we can actually watch Die Hard and actually talk about those things.
Now that you're saying all this is kind of the premise of X-Files, is that is that there is, we all have the same alien stories because aliens are real.
Yeah, the truth is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a great tagline, because you have to go out there and find it by an act of will, versus the pre-modern story is only God's grace can give you this.
Yeah, it will find you.
That's why once you eliminate God from public life and make him private, that is, he has to hide behind the walls of the church, you're literally unspooling the ultimate higher purpose and meaning of everything. So once that happens, once that severance happens, and that's actually what it's called in storytelling, severance. Once that severance happens, it's like a child who leaves home and never returns. He's rootless. He wanders the world, but he has no rooting. He has no anchorage, no place to return to. And that's the worst place to be, because you're adrift. And of course, in the world, if you're adrift, you can be taken advantage of by all kinds of different factors and people and things.
Unless you're a Buddhist, then you just go with the flow.
Right. Well, that too. But that's the point, though, is that without God, you're rootless, you're wandering. And there's actually a famous Anglo-Saxon poem called The Wanderer about this, now that I think about it, which is where I'm getting this from. But they understood this implicitly, that the God, like Beowulf is presented as like the ultimate warrior. And yet the whole purpose of presenting him as a kind of Joshua, because that's really what he is, and modeled after Joshua is, but the greater Joshua, the greater Beowulf is Jesus. That's what they're saying in the story. That's why he defeats the child of Cain, who is Grendel and his mother, and everything that comes after. That's why the dragon poisons him and he dies. And the cup is the reason the dragon came out of its lair. Like, Beowulf happens hundreds of years. The telling of this is hundreds of years before Parsifal. And yet both stories at their heart are, there's a cup and there's evil and darkness, and we got to figure it out. And Beowulf sacrifices his life to save his people over a cup.
Surprised?
Right. Again, any pagan Christian knows what that story is about. That Beowulf is a great hero like Joshua, but there's a greater Beowulf, who is Jesus, who laid his life down because of a cup that the dragon wanted to, And then you get to Parsifal, you're like, oh, it's the same story. It's just updated for medieval audiences.
Right. And by same, you don't mean like carbon copy or anything like that.
No, because again, it's not a recitation, it's an imagining.
No.
That's the point. Good storytelling, it used to be, this is an imagining of again, I'm going to tell the story to you tonight. And if I tell it to you tomorrow, it's going to be different, but the same.
Did we really mind? I remember all the commentary at the time. We didn't really mind that Star Trek, what was it? Top Gun Maverick was basically Top Gun. I mean,
Of course it was.
It
Yeah.
was another Top Gun story.
I mean,
and you're like,
if you're not cheesed out when they've discovered the F-15 in the hangar, and you're like, that's not even like Deus Ex Machina. That's not even like, that's just like, oh, of course they would do that. Because why? Because they want to make 50-year-old men cry. That's why.
yeah,
He knows his audience.
right. There was nothing
Yeah.
surprising, and we didn't care. We
No.
loved it. He's
No.
back in the plane. He's
Yeah,
back
exactly.
doing his thing.
Every second.
Yep.
When the music came up again, you're
Yep.
like, oh.
Highway
Yeah.
to the danger zone.
Right.
That's right.
I have a meme on my iPad right now, which is women. Oh my God, he didn't cry during Titanic. Do men even have emotions? And then it has a picture. It says men, and it's the end of Gladiator. Right?
Exactly.
When he dies and he goes through the door and he's reunited with his wife and child.
I have this controversial opinion. I'm glad you brought it up. Is that they should not do combined fan ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb,
Yeah, right.
or whatever. They should be male, female.
Yeah, for sure.
I know
That'd be fantastic.
that would be sexist, but whatever, because you're
It'd be-
like,
it'd be a
somebody's
great
panning
study.
this movie, and it's like Gladiator's a fan. What are you talking about?
Right.
You know, it's flawless, and no, it gets banned. They're like, who are these people that are panning it?
The same people that liked Gladiator 2.
Oh, ouch.
Because Gladiator 2 is an abomination that is the inversion of the tropes of the first movie.
Yeah, and what's amazing
And yet
about
they're
that,
trying to reiterate it. And you're like, no, you can't do it.
he had to know better, Ridley Scott. He had to know better.
Again, that's why I say it's a spiritual affliction. That they can't see it, even though it's so obvious.
Okay, it's possible.
But if they didn't see it, they wouldn't blame the fans all the time.
I was surprised. I mean, the show got canceled by HBO, but
Mm-hmm.
his show, I can't remember what it was called.
Wolves?
But it was Raised by Wolves.
Yeah.
And then it has like a demon mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's a robot, but she's also a demon.
Yeah, well, again, that might be a love projection on his part.
I'm surprised. It's like, you can't project a woman that way.
Tell me about your mother. Yeah.
Yeah. And she kills the father figure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's too much. It's too
This
much.
is why, to your point, though, this is why Freud and Jung and others in modern psychology are the great villains of the 20th century when it comes to this stuff. Because it was incorporated by guys like Paul Tillich into his theology.
Oh, I was going to ask you
And
about Tillich.
Erik Erikson's biography of Luther is a psychoanalytical breakdown, a diagnosis of Luther, basically saying, this guy is a raving maniac. I can't believe anybody would follow him.
Because I was looking for something to read, and I bumped into, I can't see the title of it. It's like Between God and the Devil or something like that.
By
You know which one?
Obermann?
No.
Luther, God Between Man and
No,
Man Between God and the Devil?
No, I think it was Tillich. And it's. I was like, ooh. I was looking at it. I thought you'd probably get a kick out of it. But in a like
The
a
one
hate-
I'm most familiar with, I read all of this stuff at seminary because I had to. So don't think I'm bragging because I'm not. But Courage to Be is the one that I think was the most popular.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. Maybe it wasn't Tillich. Anyway, there was a book over there, and I thought, and because it was going to argue the exact opposite as Lewis or Chesterton.
Yeah, right.
It's trying to flatten everything out and just being
Yeah,
all,
well-
psychobabble.
Ultimately, I think that's, like I said, I think if you go by the catechism answer for the third article for us as Lutherans, it's very clear why the churches are dying. The Spirit calls, gathers, and enlightens the whole Christian church on earth and keeps it with Jesus in the one true faith.
And we shut the spirit out.
Yeah, by shutting out mysticism.
Yeah.
But as I teach this to my confirmands, the first day when we're on the Lord's Supper, you can't understand this. It's a mystery. We don't understand. Anybody who tells you that they do is lying. Because everybody knows it's bread and wine. All you got to do is look at it, taste it, touch it, feel it, see it, smell it. It's bread and wine.
Yeah.
And yet, from the moment you could listen to me, I've been telling you it's the blood of Jesus. And what's crazy is you actually believe me.
Isn't that something?
So then we have those really rich conversations about their parents and their grandparents.
I got to get this book or it's going to drive me crazy. Hold on.
So anyways, while he's getting his book,
Oh, no, I was totally wrong. It's Tillich, not
Helmut Thielicke.
Yeah.
Thielicke.
Between God and Satan.
Oh yeah, yep.
It's a short
Helmut.
book. I don't know. Is it any good?
It's all right. It's all right.
Somebody read about a third of it, underlining things, and then stopped reading.
His book on the Lord's Prayer is pretty cool. That's a fun one. Little Exercises for Young Theologians is the best. Every pastor should be reading it. Actually, every seminary we read it actually on the show.
Yeah, but I just saw
Yeah.
titles, and I'm like, oh, Jesus is our fate.
Well, he does have a lot of the psychoanalytical language in his work. because he is of that age.
Right, of course.
I don't think he's necessarily an advocate for it, but it's certainly just a part of his nomenclature.
How about this
It's
heading?
like Boltmann.
The mystery of the defenselessness of Jesus. But he doesn't mean mystery in the term.
Maybe he does, though. Again, like I said, some of his stuff, his sermons are interesting, for sure. He's the one, actually, whenever I talk about the pastor whose church was bombed out by the Allies.
The tooth, yeah.
Yeah, and talking about how if somebody stole the communion ware, they needed it more than us, and the church should never. That's Thelica.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think his pastoral stuff is worth reading.
This
for
one,
sure.
this one, it looks like it's like it. Yeah, it would get. Well, it'd definitely give us a lot to talk about.
Well, good. You read it next week on the show. It's your choice. Next
Maybe
week.
I will, because I haven't ever read it before.
There
I
we
might
go.
have to read more of it just to get a feel.
It's
for
about the
what's
friends
happening.
we made along the way.
Bread, temple, pinnacles, and shining lamp. It's it's on the Temptations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
He is writing as a pastor.
Well, there's that too.
He is
He
a
quotes the
theologian
Bible
who's
right
also
at
a
the front
pastor. Yeah.
The mystery of temptation. I don't know. He uses that word. Does he mean the same thing we mean?
Yeah, well, let's sign up.
Okay.
Keep it in your back pocket, and if it's still there next week, we'll read it.
There you go.
So anything else? You got anything else?
No, this was good.
Good.
It was a nice refresher. Palate cleanser.
Yeah, because we did liturgy stuff. And, by the way, I'm writing a series on the liturgy on 1517. So you can find Why the Liturgy and Why Confession. Those are the first two essays that are based on the class.
Isn't that interesting? You're doing the class and you end up with articles at the same time.
It's weird how they coincide with each other. You know how I just like to write and write and write. So
Or rather,
send them to Kelsey and say, hey, I'm
let's
doing
adjust
this for a class.
for a different audience. Yes.
Actually, I don't even really do that.
No.
I just keep it pretty much the same because I'm on the live stream in Wednesday classes now too.
Oh, you actually use the article
Yeah.
for the first. Yeah, right. Exactly. Write the article and then use that for your class.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. That works for me. They don't mind.
No, again, as long as it's their language and not the language of the author or the language of publishing this for the internet.
Right. You don't write for modern
do that.
audiences anyway. So.
That's right, exactly. So go check that out. Check out Scott's book, Being Family.
Yeah, there'll be a link in the show notes when I get those added. I just went and got it. Put it in there. Being Family. Should be good. Pre-order now.
Fantastic. Otherwise, again, God willing and the creek don't rise, we'll talk to you again next week for a brand new episode. Otherwise, God bless you. God give you 10,000 blessings today, and angels guard you on your way.
Absolutely. Wiedersehen. See you for lunch.
Auf Wiedersehen.
See you for dinner.
It has been fun watching Dark now because I was going to brush up on my German this winter. And so watching it in German is fantastic because other than the colloquialisms, I'm able to follow along.
Oh, yeah. It's written for children.
It's great. Exactly. It's so good.
Well, I mean, I think all television is probably
That's
written
fair.
for children. Yeah.
But obviously it's visual too, which helps a lot. Which is
I preferred because the second pass we did was in German. Definitely preferred that. I thought the voice actors in the English it didn't compare.
Okay.
Emotionally, it didn't compare.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about this with like hymns, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The native English hymns, even if maybe not quite as profound, a lot of times the poetry is just better.
Yeah.
It just doesn't translate.
Right.
From German or Norwegian or whatever.
Or whatever. It just does. Yeah, especially Norwegian. It's just.
I don't know anything about Norwegians, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, just Old Norse is fun because it's the rudiments of that, and it's comparable to things like German and Anglo-Saxon.
Okay.
It's like I can understand Danish in the sense of it sounds like German, but then when they show me the things, I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought that word was.
No.
It's definitely Germanic, but it's not German.
It sounds German.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
It sounds like the thing I know. And so I think that's a part of it too, is like when you're watching a show, like I have to watch Korean movies in Korean because, well, one, it's immediate. They're not in the studio, like reading a script. Again, it's recitation versus you're the character. And so when you're watching a movie in another language, they're inhabiting that character, and the language is as much as their physical acting.
Yeah, it's different with animated though.
Yeah, for sure, because again, they're both abstract.
Right.
They're
Right.
but still, I still watch Miyazaki in Japanese.
Because why wouldn't you?
I mean, what are you doing? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, again, very visual, so you don't mind having subtitles.
Manga adaptions, I can usually watch the English dub if it's well done. But yeah, for Ghibli, I have to watch it in Japanese.
Yeah. But you're paying attention.
Other than
anyway.
Howl's Moving Castle, Christian Bale nails it.
Oh,
But
I
it's
didn't
a
know
different vibe because, again, Japanese language is just a different thing altogether. And the way they express emotion is different
that. Mm-hmm.
than Westerners. So, and of course, the speech patterns, the
Right.
famous, like, you have to read at a mile a minute in English to keep up with the Japanese.
Well, and that I mean, there is a little bit of difference in like a German pattern of speech, but there's a lot of things that are similar to it.
Yeah, for sure. Again,
Yeah.
it's the root of English.
It's just the the verb at the end.
Right,
Kind of
exactly.
throws things off a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my German studies in a nutshell. 8 years of searching for verbs.
Where's the verb? Are we going to get to the verb?
That's right,
I
exactly.
can't remember which theologian it was, but I remember encountering this. It was a whole paragraph, and the verb was at the very
That was
end.
Bart for me.
Was it Bart?
Yeah, we
Oh.
we translated his Roman sermon, and he had one verb in a paragraph, and it was in the last sentence.
Yeah, all the contingent phrases, and then you
You're like,
finally get to the
what are we
verb.
doing? What are we doing this for?
And everybody knew what the verb was going to be.
Right,
to the point of
exactly.
storytelling.
Yes, and your teacher's like, no, you have to find it. You're like, we all know what it is.
Yeah.
Leave
It's
me
implied.
alone.
It's implied. It doesn't need to be spoken.
Right,
until the end.
exactly. That's right. I like that better.
That's something about Germans there. I don't know what it is. There's
It's
probably
implied.
a joke.
I like that. Yeah,
There's an implied verb. We'll get to it. Don't worry.
that's right.
All right.
Just inflect. Just inflect.
I
Just
better push stop so that it uploads.